we're going to record. Then it says that we're in progress. And I just say, hello, everybody, and welcome to another random idea that turned into a series of Merlin's friends talking about their favorite movies. And as the title and my guest suggests, we have Peter. Hello again.
Hey, welcome back, everyone.
Yeah, welcome back. We just did a video on Enemy Mine recently, so go ahead and check that out. It's a good discussion talking about sci-fi movies, but I'm sure we'll see some sci-fi movies on your list. We're going to, like before, we're going to go from 50, because you're doing your top 50, all the way up to your number 6, and then hopefully we'll do some kind of big Zoom with everybody, and it'll be a mess. It'll be a mess. Probably.
Oh,
But
probably, but
it'll be a good time. But in any case, really, this is where you get to talk and I get to randomly comment about stuff. So go ahead, Peter.
yeah. So I'll start by saying that my list is a little bit different from Tim and Dan's that you've seen before, not just in the makeup, but even my way that I chose the movies. I think is a little bit different
Okay.
because many of these are not things that I would watch for fun. These are not movies that I go, oh, it's a rainy afternoon. Let me throw on. Some of them are,
Okay.
especially in the higher echelons, or things that I've seen a lot. But some of these are a little bleaker or different, or sometimes even difficult to watch.
Okay.
Uh,
Well, let me ask you then, because it's probably similar to how I looked at it, but you would still say that in some way they are still your personal favorite movies. Like you could connect with them enough for them to be on this list.
yeah, I'd say every one of them has some sort of special meaning to me, some significance. I assume we'll discuss some of them as we go forward.
Probably all of them.
Yeah, and I will say I heartily recommend all of these films.
To everybody.
Yeah, well, maybe not everybody, but we'll have those discussions as we go forward. But I did.
Sure.
These are movies that I've seen at least twice. Many of them more than that. I do have, unlike Dan, I did allow for more recent releases, so we do have a 2019 film on the list.
Okay.
But yeah, these are my personal picks, and yeah, I'm ready to get started if you are.
Yeah, absolutely. What's your number 50? Let's start the list.
My number 50 is a bit of a cheat.
Oh, come on. Cheating already.
Already ran out of the gate.
Oh,
Well, I
man.
figured just to start early,
Oh,
early and
actually,
often.
all right. You know what? Here we go. A little bit of a spoiler, but are there one or two movies that you were debating on that got just cut off? What's not going to be on the 50? Can you give me
Oh,
one or two?
there's a lot of movies, but we'll talk about those
Oh,
as we
no.
go.
Okay. No spoilers. All
So
right.
yeah, a few of them. There's a few that were kind of that it was sort of a toss up between several, and I ended up kind of going, okay, I'm going to put this one on there
Okay.
as a representative of a certain group. So this, my 50 is a representative of a certain group. It's Quentin Tarantino film. So my favorite Quentin Tarantino film
Wow.
is Kill Bill, which
Just
I
made the cut.
consider one movie as he intended, even though it was released in two parts. And I know that's a
As do I. As do I.
yeah, I know it's a debate, but I believe the
Stupid
two
debate.
parts, yeah, two parts are crucial. I would say that Once Upon a Time in Hollywood and Pulp Fiction probably would have been, um,
Better, maybe?
yeah, I maybe I've only seen Once Upon a Time in Hollywood once so far. And Pulp Fiction is everybody's seen it. It's we could sing the praises for days, and it is an
It,
important film. But
it sounds to me like you're thinking those movies could maybe be better representations of definitive Tarantino, perhaps, but it's not your pick, though.
yeah, but Kill Bill is what appeals to me. I remember seeing it in the theaters. I remember seeing the first part and being very excited to see Volume Two that was coming, I think, 4 months later or some such. Um, as a fan of anime and Japanese cinema,
Hmm.
I just love the action in this. I love the little touches, little moments, the shift to black and white, the music
Hmm.
cues. Um, the Kill Bill is just a truly fantastic film that works on so many levels, has so much going on, and certainly been um, something that I've gone back to over the years. I do think um, perhaps he's made better films or films that appeal to a wider audience, but for me, this is the one that has stuck with me. It's the one I go back to. It's the one that somehow just speaks to me in that way.
Okay. Well, I'll let you think about elaborating specifically more because that's what I always ask. I want to know why, Peter. But while you think on that, I will say that I am very happy that Kill Bill's on the list because, as you probably know, I'm a pretty big Tarantino fan. So it's interesting to say this is your favorite, which means that might be the only Tarantino on the list, possibly.
I will say it is the only Tarantino on the list.
Wow,
There
just
are a few directors that will show up on here more than once. Some that even surprised me. There's at least one that I did not expect to be in the top 50 more than once, and then realized, oh, there's several of these. But I think part of me is just that it's a film that does so much, but it fits together and it does it so well that it can go to an anime for a moment, that it can that each of the different fights is sort of in a different style, whether it's a close quarters sword fight or a massive melee with 99 other sword wielding maniacs, or even a knife fight turned shootout in the kitchen.
gotcha.
It has a style all its own, in that it is almost every style brought together. But it works. It makes sense. It's fun and lively, and maybe shouldn't work, but it does.
All right. Well, as you know, you might know this, but Bill is one of my favorite Tarantino movies. It might show up on my list when I eventually talk about it. So I'm very happy that if there's any Tarantino movie on there, it's Kill Bill. I think that's very fitting. That's awesome.
Yeah. So moving down the list, my number 49 is Wes Craven's New Nightmare.
Ah, the new one.
The Nightmare on Elm Street 7, technically speaking.
uh, yes and no, right?
Yeah, it's complicated. It is a very meta film.
It's kind of, I don't want to say it's the meta film, but like I want to say that at least in horror, I don't know if anybody went that meta before, did they? Like to that degree?
Not to that degree, and even Scream, I don't think got that meta.
No, because like Scream pokes fun of the script and the camera, but it's still its own story, its own movie, whereas it's like the line between movie and the it's
Yeah,
it very dreamlike in a way, you could say. It's
yeah. New
strange.
Nightmare just does, and I would say that there are probably better Freddy Krueger movies. I'd say the first Nightmare on Elm Street, if you're new to the series, start there.
Well,
But Wes Craven's director's really stuck with me. I think of The Hills Have Eyes.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Um, he's has and Scream for that matter. He has a very distinct style, or did. But New Nightmare gets that strange dreamlike quality, while also just being this sort of strange meta textual, where the actors are appearing as themselves, but also their characters. It is maybe Wes Craven's most personal film, where he appears in it as himself, talking about why he made this movie. Maybe, although the idea of an actual monster sort of being contained in these movies.
It's a pretty cool idea, anyway. But I mean, you could also, I think it might also be like sort of obviously metaphorically about the power of the creative piece of his influence and how it almost kind of comes alive in a way through people who watch it. And it also obviously a commentary on not just the movies, but on, I guess, screenwriting and on Hollywood and fame and just that it's definitely an ambitious, complicated movie. And I feel like it's well done. I'm pretty sure I saw the whole thing, but it's a long time ago. And I want to say that that probably seems like the most Joe movie. Like it's so weird and strange, but it's also in some ways I think it's the scariest because Freddy himself is more terrifying in a way. It's more disturbing in a way. So it's like I feel like that I almost want to say that one should be my favorite, but I don't know. I didn't quite have the same affinity for it as the first one, and oddly enough, yeah, I don't want to deviate too much, but I know you're a big Nightmare on Elm Street fan, but I've always kind of really liked the second one, which
Okay.
I know is a little bit of a strange choice, but I don't know. I always found that one to be very interesting as well. So I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe we'll do
That might be its own.
yeah, we could maybe do at some point discussion of the some of the Elm Street movies. But yeah, I mean they're the interesting thing about the Elm Street films is they evolve in a way that other franchises just don't.
Well, I mean, I guess most people would say that. I mean, the typical, you know, trajectory of a lot of those slasher movies is they get worse. But but I don't know. I haven't seen all of them, but from what I've seen, they're usually fun. They're usually creative.
Yeah, I've never disliked, and I own the whole, I own the box set DVDs for a long time. Never, uh, not if I'm ever watching it, it's never like one that I skip. Um, I never say, yeah, I don't need to watch Friday Part Five or
Hmm.
Elm
Okay.
Street Part Five in the way that I might with Friday the 13th or Halloween.
Okay.
Um, if I were, I would say, yeah, I don't, I can stop there or I can skip around. But yeah, I think these films are definitely worth discussing. This is not meant as a standalone film. It is very much meant to have,
Knowledge.
yeah, to have seen the other films, to sort of know what's going on, to understand folklore and storytelling. But it is just it's a movie that stuck with me. And I would say it's my 49th favorite movie.
Well, works for me. Very cool.
So 48 is Heavenly Creatures, the Peter Jackson film from 1994 with Kate Winslet and Melanie Linsky.
Ah. Uh. Aha. Tell me about that one.
Okay, so
I know about it. I've seen it.
yeah, this is Peter Jackson's sort of entry into respectability. His earlier films are
Schlock.
schlock, the good kind, the fun kind of schlock, but
The B horror and
yeah,
comedy and
yeah,
yeah, which is why I love him. He's a nitty gritty filmmaker early on. Yeah,
yeah. But this is a very much a lane change, and
most prestigious film so far.
yeah, and it's about a real life case of two school girls who were romantically involved and ended up killing one of their mothers after the parents decided they shouldn't
Yes,
be doing
you
it
would say
anymore.
that somebody gets brained in the film. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
that's right. High,
definitely a very intense
high impact
sequence.
blood instruments. Yeah.
Yeah, a sequence of violence. But the thing that stood out to me about this movie, in addition to just great performances, great writing, are these little daydream sequences where they have this almost Narnia-esque kingdom that these
Mm.
two girls sort of imagine themselves being in, where they can be freed from the expectations of society.
Ah.
And that really stuck with me. Those sort of like almost claymation soldiers that they have in the one scene.
Mm.
It's a very beautiful, very well shot movie. Um, and I will say that I did consider putting Lord of the Rings on the list, but I really,
But then you burned it in effigy.
well, I mean, it's too much of a trilogy that may be Fellowship, but I really like Return of the King has just
Well,
that.
maybe I could have told you beforehand. Dan and I decided there were a couple movies that a couple trilogies you could look as one and a stand-in for one. If you had wanted to put Lord of the Rings in as one thing, I would have allowed it. You know.
Yeah, but this gets to my, this list is about me. This is the if I was saying, here's the important Peter Jackson films, I think Heavenly Creatures. I've probably seen Lord of the Rings more than I've seen Heavenly Creatures. But this is a movie that stuck with me, and I think deserves to be seen.
Well, I'll be honest. I watched it once a couple of years back, and I remembered thinking that I wasn't particularly engaged with it. I found it rather boring, actually, which I kind of feel bad because I know it's one that is generally pretty loved, but and I probably got to watch it again because I might have been distracted. Though I do like the slow buildup of like these seemingly innocent girls and how it kind of builds into resentment towards somebody, and the contrast of the violence later on definitely sticks out with from the rest of the movie. But it's I don't know, it didn't engage me quite as much. What's the yeah, who'd you say the co-star was? Kate Winslet again?
Melanie Linsky,
Because
who,
I remember I have seen her in other movies, and when I saw Heavenly Creatures, I'm like, oh yeah, that woman. I've seen her in other things, but I never. She doesn't pop up quite as much. I mean, obviously Kate Winslet had the
yeah, no,
bigger
she
career,
has not had Kate Winslet's career.
but I knew who she was. I was like, oh, that girl. Ugh.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's probably what she's still best
Known for.
known for. Although I mean, she's in Coyote Ugly. She's in Sweet Home Alabama. She has a career, just and
This is it.
is recognizable, but not Kate Winslet.
So, so you said you related to the whole want to escape responsibilities through fantasy worlds. Is that the connection to these
Yeah,
characters you?
I love that portrayal. I thought that the romance was very well done.
Hmm.
The idea of wanting to escape, particularly having those same feelings when I was that age of just wanting to get away from it all and find somebody to take with me. And um, it's a very laconic movie. It's very sort of in that Australian style, like Picnic at Hanging Rock, where it's sort of a lot of slow going. But
Hmm.
it definitely stuck with me, and still, I think it's just a beautiful, lovely little movie.
Good. Well, that sounds very you, so I like it.
Yeah, so number 47 is The World's End, the third part of the Cornetto trilogy.
Oh, not Shaun of the Dead, huh? Not
No, Hot Fuzz is probably my pick for the best of the three.
okay. I never get the same answer about this. Like you'd think it's a unanimous. I feel like everybody I talk to, they have a different answer. I can never predict it.
Yeah, I think Hot Fuzz, in terms of the plot construction and jokes, um, just is probably the best. But The World's End is the one that feels most personal to me.
Okay.
Um,
Do you
I
relate to
know,
the upset guys going around drowning their
I
sorrows?
mean, I know people like in this movie. I know people. Every time I go back home, it's
Hmm.
less
Intense.
going out and trying to drink 12 beers on some pub crawl.
Hmm.
But I know people like this that kind of peaked in high school, and even
Sure.
then maybe weren't entirely happy with their lives, but sort of want things to remain the same or go back.
Hmm.
And I see that in people I know, and it really just struck a chord with me in a way that is stuck with me. I think it's a fun movie. I agree that probably uh, the shift to science fiction is a bit abrupt. Um,
Uh, you know what? No, I think it feels abrupt, but it's one of those things where there's a good shift to lock you into. Here's the fantastical element, and I do like the whole. It's still a secret alien takeover thing with it's kind. So it's I don't know. I think there's some
yeah,
hints.
yeah. Well,
I think
yeah.
it
My
works.
and my point is, I think it works with the when you do go home, it feels strange. It feel,
It feels like everybody could be more or
yeah.
less in their
When
lock.
I go back, it's a little bit. People don't quite look the way that I remembered them, or they have kids now, or they talk differently or act differently, and everything's a little bit, just a little bit different.
Mm.
Um, and I love the ending to the movie in which
Oh,
we the apocalypse happens. It just, yep, you've pissed us off enough that we're just gonna take away all of your technology, and um, but everyone's happier with that, which
you don't usually see that. Like the doomsday scenario happens, and it actually is. We're better off
yeah,
after.
yeah, it's just it's a post-apocalypse, or it's a variant of post-apocalypse, but one that doesn't seem so bad, very cozy in that way.
No, that's cool. I think that that is an interesting message, and you're right. I think that that makes sense. Very relatable. I could see that just the passage of time, and it's that quaint little things are familiar, but not quite the same. And yet, some people are nostalgic, and we all are to some extent. So, yeah, I could totally get that, and yeah, I think it works for the movie. I don't know. I want to say that one was probably. I don't know if that one's. It's probably the one that people don't really acknowledge as the best of them. But I think ironically, it's maybe it's the fact that you like the ending, and of course it's kind of like of course, a Mad Max thing, which you like, and fused with almost like a Douglas Adams sensibility
Yeah,
about that sort of like kind of quirky charm about this dark thing. But I think that says a lot about you. You found a way to like that ending. Where I think a lot of people, that's the big issue with the movie is the ending.
yeah, and I don't fault people for not liking it. It is personal to me, but that's
Sure.
this list is personal to me.
Absolutely. And like I said, I like the pick. It's good.
Yeah. So number 46, a little bit more obscure. This is the 1939 film Destry Rides Again with Jimmy Stewart and Marlene Dietrich.
Oh wow, I've never seen
Um,
that one.
yeah, it's pretty rare. It's was popular at the time, but it um, sort of fell out of discussion. It is in the National Film Registry, so somebody
Appreciates it.
appreciates it. And this is an interesting one for me. It's a fairly straightforward Western,
Okay.
um, but it's fun. It for some reason it's stuck with me, and part of it might be that my mom loves this movie.
Hmm.
Um,
Did she ever say why she loved it?
I don't know, but uh, I can't think specifically, other than I think that she likes Jimmy Stewart quite a bit, and it's
Fair.
maybe his most like aw shucks kind of Jimmy Stewart role.
Oh shucks.
It's very so he's Jimmy Stewart is the son of a famous gunfighter, so he's Destry Jr. Um, who's hired to come to this town to clean it up. Only it turns out that he's a pacifist
Oh.
who doesn't believe in violence, although turns out to be quite the gunfighter in his own right, but tries to solve things with talking. And
Was this the inspiration for Trigun?
I mean, probably. I mean, I think that there probably is some connection there. And
Sounds like it. Geez, yeah.
yeah, but it's just sort of a fun little movie. It's
I'm guessing you watched it a lot growing up with your mom, so fond
Yeah, it's
memories of.
definitely one that I have fond memories of. It's one I think deserves to be in conversation. There are a lot of other westerns that nearly did make the list. I thought of
Oh.
High Noon, or The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance, or
Hmm.
Unforgiven. But this is the one that thinking about my personal favorite movies, the things that I enjoy.
Hmm.
This is one that stuck with me, the one that I come back to, and one that it's just a lot of fun. It's a simple little movie.
Hmm.
There's not a lot to it.
Well, sometimes that's okay. Sometimes that's all you
Yeah,
need. That's all you want. So
yeah,
that's
but
fine.
it's sort of this. atypical Western, but just well made and fun and good sense of humor and kind of a nice message that sometimes pacifism may be good, but sometimes you gotta
Got to do
take
what you
care of
got to do.
business.
Got to
Yeah.
take care of business. I like that. No, that's cool. And no, that's a good one to share. I hadn't heard of that one. Are you kind of a Western guy, Peter?
Yeah, I would say yeah.
Because I'll admit that I'm a bit weak on my westerns, and I've had mixed feelings about the ones I've seen. So I know there's plenty of those I got to watch. I had never heard of this one at all.
Yeah, I'd say yeah. This is pretty obscure. You've probably heard of most of the other ones I've mentioned, but this is one that not totally obscure, not way out there that nobody's ever heard of, but
But I'm pretty sure
definitely.
when I Google, best westerns, I don't think this was the first one I would see pop up.
Well, you'd probably get the hotel chain as your first pop up, but
All right. Best Western movies of all time would be the specifics. I would you'd get, the Man with No Name trilogy and also Best Western Book Now for best deals. Yeah, you're
yeah,
right. Which is also might have some entertainment value as a movie. I don't know. They should market that. That should be a Best
yeah, yeah.
Western. That they should
No,
use
that
that for commercials or something for a new marketing campaign. But no, that sounds like a good personal Peter Western. I like it.
yeah, yeah. And I do recommend it. It's watchable. It's fun. It's good for the kid. I watched it. I don't know when I was like 5 or 6. It's
Do you
very accessible.
do you ascribe to the belief that a good movie, even if it's old, younger viewers, younger kids could still watch it and enjoy it today?
Yeah, I think younger kids would enjoy this.
Okay.
It manages to be fun. Now some of there Marlene Dietrich's in it, so there is some
Oh no.
yeah, but it's also from 1939, so it's not too humor's not too risque, but as a plot point of who Jimmy Stewart is going to choose, the saloon girl or
Well,
the nice gal. But
well, you always got to have that dilemma, I guess. Oh, shucks. Sounds good.
yeah. So number 45, I think, is going to be a familiar one. This is Source Code, the
Oh,
2011 Scott Bakula cameoing feature that we talked about not too long ago.
yeah, definitely. I'll put that in the link below. Peter and Dan and I talked about it as actually on our little series of kind of less talked about sci-fi movies. So yeah, definitely if you want more of his thoughts on source code and mine as well, definitely check that video out.
Yeah, so that there's not a lot to add beyond what we've said there.
And I think you mentioned it, but yeah, yeah. Once again, why does this stick out to Peter as like
uh,
this? I really connect to this movie.
so I think the thing that to me that why this becomes a favorite is I saw this movie with my dad.
Mm,
Um, I just remember going to see it. Think it was not long before I came to Pennsylvania. It was maybe in my last trip home before we're moving out here. And it stuck with me. It's an emotional movie. It's that moment again where he calls his dad is stuck with me, and it's one that has personal resonance. It's also, I think, a very well made movie. I like, you know, we'll get another time loop movie coming up here, at least
oh,
one. But it does that very well. Has some interesting ethical quandaries with it. It's just a great movie, and one that if you're just dismissing it as another oh, it's just another Groundhog Day, it's so much more.
or you could be like me and think, that movie just looks like another generic tech thriller that's like Eagle Eye. I'm not going to watch it. Don't listen to me.
No,
It's not like Eagle Eye, which I actually don't hate, but it's a very different movie than
yeah,
Source.
Eagle Eye is fine, but Eagle Eye is not on this list.
Yeah,
So
I just think that yeah, exactly. I think that says a lot.
right, so my number 44 is American Graffiti from
Ah,
1973, the movie that George Lucas made before Star Wars.
Probably the movie he's happiest about.
Yeah, I think it's the one that I think he's tinkered with the least. So no,
Yes, I don't think that he went back and added in like the CGI cars to and extra explosions for the crash or something. Insert rehab Harrison Ford do more lines. Post up 30 years later. Oh, yeah, I'm the fastest in town. Yeah, no, you're right. I think that this one he was happy with what he originally did.
Yeah, so this is, I think, well regarded as a classic. Um, the thing that it puts on my list is I saw this not long before I graduated high school. I saw it at the perfect moment to see it. I saw it a few months from graduation when I honestly didn't have any idea what I was going to do with my life. I was, ended up going to community college for a few years, but very much identified with the characters in this film of maybe not knowing exactly what I wanted to do or how I wanted to do it, but also of this sort of fantastical, last night of being a teenager. Again, maybe a similar theme to what we see in The World's End. But it stuck with me. Wolfman Jack is, or whoever that is in the radio station is fantastic, and certainly I did eventually get to live out that dream of being a late night DJ on the college radio station.
See it.
But yeah, this is just it's a great movie. It's sort of low key, relaxed. I found it very relatable to my own experiences, and one that I like to revisit every few years, even if even if I'm getting more distant from that moment in my life.
Well, I think that's a very good pick, and I agree. I think it's a very good movie, and I think it's quite an excellent movie. And it's interesting to me how it George Lucas basically made that as a microcosm of his youth when he was kind of going through very similar things. And even though it seems like it's a very genuine representation of that time, those themes of being young and on the cusp of like this big transition into adulthood and not being sure, it's still something that I think a lot of people will be able to relate to many years, or much like you did. So I can totally relate to it. I saw that once when I was a kid as well, and I liked it. And I got to watch it again not too many years ago, and I really like it. I think it's a very good movie. Uh, though I don't know, I think the part of me that wants to say my favorite George Lucas film is probably THX. The what he really wanted to do, but I guess nobody liked it when I wanted to do these high concept films.
Yeah, no, I mean, yeah.
That's pretty good.
Go crying to your $5 billion, George.
I'll go. It's what an interesting guy. We could have a whole discussion about
I think Lucas is a fascinating figure, but
No,
yeah.
I actually admire him. I actually think he's great. I'm a Lucas apologist, but I think that movies like this are evidence that he could do a lot of different things great. He had talent and heart, I think, to tell a good story. But something about Star Wars, man, just I think it took over his trajectory.
I mean, I think a lot of people make the case that it sort of took over the Hollywood, but
kind of. But talk about another discussion, right?
Yeah. Yeah, so moving on, my number 43 is 2019's Dolomite Is My Name.
Not movie 43?
No, surprisingly not. Yeah. So if you're unfamiliar, this is the Eddie Murphy as Rudy Ray Moore. Eddie Murphy was robbed at the Oscars.
This is where Peter just flips his desk and.
But I think this was by far by far, but certainly the best movie of that year.
Is it the best movie about making cheesy movies?
Well, I'll say that there's going to be at least one more on here.
Well, I know for sure it's not the Disaster Artist. I know that.
No, I'm not. I'm not a big fan of the Disaster Artist, but this really just gets to the heart of why this matters. There's so many great scenes in here, so many wonderful performances. You got Wesley Snipes. You've got you get Craig Robinson, Divine Joy Randolph as Lady Reed is a standout. Definitely, I think deserves to be in a lot more conversations.
Um, I feel like when it came out, it got a lot of buzz though about it.
Yeah,
So you still think it wasn't quite as deserved, or didn't get talked about enough still?
I think it should still be talked about. I think I think it's important. I think some of it there is some dismissal of sort of the lowbrow movies of Dolomite, which is not some
Uh,
great
uh,
lost classic, but
well, I'd argue it's quite a well-known classic
yeah,
in its own right. Though I'll tell you what, I admit I didn't watch this one yet. It is on the list mostly because well, partially because you liked it so much, but also because I like the guerrilla low budget stuff anyway, the really culty stuff. And but I was like, well, I can't watch this until I actually watch Dolomite. So I sat down and watched Dolomite, which I really liked.
yeah,
And
oh yeah,
just comparing it to the other two big movies like of this vein, like The Room and Plan 9 from Outer Space. I enjoy those films in their own way, but I can obviously see their glaring flaws. The thing about Dolomite though is I watched it and I thought, I mean, it's exploitation, it's cheesy, but uh, I thought it was actually pretty competently made in comparison. Like
yeah,
the biggest problem with Dolomite, which they probably go into in the movie, the biggest thing that stuck out for me as like an issue was the edits. Like the edits were
yep,
just they're so jarring. Some of them like,
yeah,
wait, oh wait, we're in another scene now. That's the biggest thing about Dolomite that felt super low budget is like, oh, we couldn't save this scene or we couldn't record this, so we have to cut here. And it's just like it was a little. I'm sure. Does the movie go into
oh
explaining that? Oh,
yeah.
oh,
There's
okay.
a great joke about that, but
Oh, good.
I'll let you
Okay.
watch the movie. But
Okay.
yeah,
Okay, good. Because but that's the thing, man. I actually, I like Dolomite. I haven't seen the other one. Is he related? Is that the Petey Wheatstraw character as well? Or is that the similar studio? I always get that
yeah,
confused.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. He's
They start to get a little bizarre. Like he fights like demons in one movie or
yeah,
something.
yeah.
And
I mean, it's
okay. All
yeah.
right.
Well, he was always chasing the trend, so
Gotta chase the bucks. But
yeah.
so I mean, you probably could guess a little bit. So what speaks to you about this one as makes it a personal favorite?
Uh, so a lot of it is the heart that goes into this. There, Eddie Murphy clearly has a great affection for Rudy Ray Moore. Understands these movies. I enjoyed Dolomite. I saw it, I think, in college. I had a friend that was very into blaxploitation that I'd never encountered, but there is an art to it, and it recognizes that. And Bill's just a great movie with all of these great performances and lines and moments that really stuck with me. And I think it just it's just a fun, heartfelt movie that uh, it just it's yeah, it really stuck with me in a way that I maybe wasn't part of it. I don't think I was expecting it to be as good as it was, and was surprised that yeah, this was stuck out as um, something that really illustrated a piece of history that I didn't know that much about,
Mhm.
but did it in such a way with such heart. And I think that you'll especially get some enjoyment out of this. Is there's a lot of the logistics of shooting a low budget movie.
Well, as you know, a lot of times, movies like this actually can be educational.
Mhm.
So I will take
Yeah,
notes.
yeah. So let's see. My number 42 is 2007's Once, the film that gave us Falling Slowly, the Oscars that year. It's a small little Irish romance uh, between two street buskers in Dublin. One is an immigrant, and it's a lovely little movie that I really enjoy. It's a great soundtrack.
Huh.
It's not not something, it's different from a lot of the other stuff on my list. Um, Part because it's just so simple and small
Okay.
chemistry to the point that the leads ended up dating for a while after. Um, but uh, yeah, just it's about people sort of on the edge of society, eking out a living with music, but it finds a lot of value in that.
Well, I always appreciate when this happens, like when you bring a movie that I completely unfamiliar. I'm stumped. I'm like, well, let's see. I have nothing to say, so I'm just gonna ask more questions. You said it's very different than a lot of the other movies on the list. I just looked up quick. It's like a musical too, I guess.
Yeah, yeah,
Uh,
it's a musical. Although
s-
it's notable as the music is all uh,
is in the background or
no, it's all part of, because they're musicians, so they're actually singing these songs to
oh,
each other. That they,
it's one of the
yeah,
okay, okay. They actually are performing it, so it's not like everybody
yeah,
just stops and starts doing dance numbers like in Hammerstein or something.
yeah, yeah, and they're very the music is very like low key acoustic,
Okay.
um, kind of music that you might hear on a street corner in Dublin.
Okay.
Um,
So what okay, well then really tell me what is it that really stands out to you? Something is there something about the romance or just the nature of the city or through the music or like
well, yeah, I mean, I am of Irish descent, so there is some of that
Ryan.
there. Yeah, yeah, we're descended from King Brian Boru, who
Ah,
left Ireland back in year 900 or some such.
oh geez. Well, I
Um,
could see the little
yeah,
crown. I could see King
yeah,
Brian,
yeah.
yeah.
So, but the part of this, and mild spoiler, although
Keep it mild.
movies, yeah,
I'll watch it. I'll watch it, but
yeah. The end of the film is not quite as tragic. Like, yeah, I would say Heavenly Creatures is definitely tragic, but I like my romance is a little bit bittersweet. It ends
well,
on a sort of uncertain note,
mhm.
um, but there's hope, and that's something that stuck out to me. That there is this, um, that is life. Um,
It sounds realistic. Yeah, often
yeah, it's very
bittersweet. Yeah.
realistic that sometimes things just don't work out right now, but maybe they will later. But maybe they won't. But it that really stuck with me. Um, Again, I saw this in 2007 when it came out, and that was right before I left for college, and had went through a breakup related to my finally departing, and
Ah,
but so there is a personal connection here,
gotcha.
that still is there, even if I haven't seen this person in probably in 15 years or whatever. But
Well, it's with that, you make connections with different things, and oftentimes that's a movie, maybe, around a time with another person, or maybe you watch something with the one person. So, yeah, that's totally understandable. See, that's the list's about. It's insight into the person, Peter. Interesting. That's
yeah,
hint.
yeah, you're learning a lot about me.
Yeah,
So
gotta get the deep dive. It might get even more crazy later.
yeah,
We'll see. But wow, okay, yeah. No idea, man. I guess I'll have to watch it at least once, huh?
yeah, it's definitely worth watching. It's short, it's tight, it's lovely little movie, and I I think it's one that got a lot of attention on the Oscars because there was the Academy famously cut off Markita Irglova, who is one of the winners for the song, and Jon Stewart, who is hosting, forced the producers to let them come back out to finish the speech.
Huh.
So there's an interesting bit of Oscar trivia
Huh.
related to this movie. But yeah, definitely worth seeing. Very, very low key, just lovely movie, and good for like a Sunday afternoon to just watch and enjoy.
Sounds fair.
So moving on, number 41 is 1990's Jacob's Ladder.
Oh, oh man.
Uh,
Came up in a recent game night actually. No, and he was like, "What was that? No, what is that?"
yeah, yeah. I mean, it's one of my favorite movies for one.
Well,
It
yeah,
is
so he should have known.
yeah the story of a Vietnam vet played by Tim Robbins
Ooh.
uh, dealing with the trauma of the war potentially.
Yeah, but potentially because of uh some kind of supernatural. There's some of the scariest demonic imagery I've ever seen in a movie.
Yeah,
Yeah, actually.
this is one of the scariest movies I've ever seen.
But it's interesting too because it's not like a lot of stuff is constantly in your face. I mean, it's more like a it's more like this character study drama of this traumatized guy, but the scenes that involve the supernatural elements, you're like, what is going on? And they are it feels not like I want it, like when I watch it, kind of taps into that sense of unease you might have in like in a like a late night train station or subway. It's dark, it's gritty, something goes by and you see this image and it doesn't look right and you're like, did I just see something, or is that and poof, and just before I let you just talk about how great it is, the scene in the hospital, man, that is that that's one of the scariest movie images
Yeah,
I've ever seen. That's like, no thank you.
yeah. No, this is the best illustration of the uncanny that I've seen, as Joe's mentioned. It's a moody, it does a fantastic job of just setting the mood and keeping it there and keeping the sense of unease
Ugh.
and those moments when you think you see something, but maybe I didn't, but maybe there was. And it's just a creepy, unsettling film, but it is so well made. It is stuck with me.
Mm.
And it has some interesting readings on it, about like the whole academic guilt of Vietnam and not taking care of our vets coming back.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but there is ultimately sort of this undercurrent of coming to deal with the horrors and finding ways to um, take all of the horrible things that have happened and come to peace with them in some capacity or not, whether depending on how we read the ending of the film and
Yeah,
what even happens.
but you're right. It's like no matter what, you have to deal with the past issues, and it's can definitely be a bigger statement about as a country or just personal problem trauma and stuff you've had to deal with is and I admit that the movie is definitely, I mean, it's definitely kind of allegorical about all those things and not trying to hide that, but even just as a straight horror movie, it almost makes it worse in a way if you don't quite get that, I guess.
Yeah, yeah, it's very intense, and not always in the ways that you think it will, because so much of it is just things in the corner or shots. I think of the Dan when he's the dance
The
scene.
dance scene. Yeah,
Yeah,
when you find out your girlfriend might be a lizard. Yeah, that's that might be awkward.
yeah,
Yeah, that was weird.
yeah. That is, it's just weird
Oh,
enough, but it does a great job of putting you in his shoes.
and it's also so grounded in just realism in terms of like just a lot of the stuff that just seems like dramatic issues. Like what remember when he's just burning up and they shove him in the tub full of ice like that. What's wrong with him? Like that's a very scary scene in and of itself. So it does balance a lot of that. So so obviously you just like it. It's stuck with you. Is there anything you could say that maybe connected it to you? Like this is, I guess, is that just stuff you relate to? Some of those themes,
Well,
or
I'd say that, I mean, I definitely, we'll see a few more of them on this list, and we've
ah,
seen a few already. I just love the sort of dreamlike films. I have a draw to uh, films that have a dreamlike atmosphere. If I think of City of Lost Children, or we talked
mm,
about the Elm Street series,
hmm
a lot of other stuff that um,
Brazil, obviously,
Brazil. Yeah,
Gilliam
we've
stuff. Yeah.
talked extensively about Brazil. Um, that just I just like the movies that are a little bit strange and uncanny and uh, sort of echo the experience of being in a dream. Um, Something about them, I will watch movies, and I sort of knowing that they're going to have this feeling, and often expecting that, oh, it's going to be um, oh, it was all a dream kind of movie. But well, certainly is just something, the aesthetic just appeals to me and stands out. And Jacob's Ladder is part of that, although maybe more nightmare
Yeah.
than dream.
Yeah. Well, that's valid too. Gotcha.
So number 40 is Lost in Translation,
Ah.
another romantic film about maybe lost connections. It's the Bill Murray and Scarlett Johansson film from that year. Bill Murray was, again, speaking of the Oscars, was robbed for his richly deserved performance. But it's a movie that stands out to me. Um, while it is nominally romantic, um, it plays with it in such a way that friendships are complicated, that it isn't just sort of a will they, won't they story, but about finding other people in, again, this strange space. Um,
More
and it
about
has,
it's more about just kind of connection with another person in general rather than a general romance.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's sort of the connections and how we find each other and make sense of that. And it has, like, again, maybe a sort of dreamlike atmosphere. Most of it takes place at night in Tokyo.
Hmm.
There's always a little bit strange, undoubtedly intentionally. Um, but it's one that I really enjoyed at the time. It's one that stuck with me.
Yeah, I think that's I think it's I'll just go out and say I think that I don't know. It's one of those ones that's such a. I feel like it's critically beloved, but I don't know if it's universally loved. But I still feel like it's up there in terms of for what it is. I think it's probably one of the best movies I've ever seen, in the sense that I I only watched it one time, but I felt like it made a big impact on me, and I felt like it was kind of difficult to watch because I feel like in retrospect, it's great performances and it's really that meditation on loneliness, because obviously you've got two people in a different country without much connection, but they're kind of having to deal with themselves and trying to find each other and then themselves within each other. And I think it's a movie I need to rewatch, but I think that's it's a very good pick. Uh,
Yeah, and I'll say that it captures the feelings of those late night conversations with sometimes friends, sometimes people you barely know, but the academia, it's the conversations at the bar at 1 in the morning.
mhm,
You have these sort of strange momentary connections
mhm.
that really just sticks with me. Um, and I just really enjoy the film.
Gotcha. Well, one question before I move on. What did he say to her?
I
What's
think
your what's
that's between them.
Hey, hey. Well, I understand it's between them, but what is Peter's theory? What would you have liked to believe? Just roughly speaking.
I
What do
don't
you
know. I mean, it's like a question that I can't answer because I
what a
think
cop out.
it's yeah. I know. I agree. I agree. You're not the first person to tell me that, but I can't know what they said because it's between the two of them.
So
Um,
even if you knew what he said, you wouldn't fully understand the
yeah,
meaning.
I mean, I know that we actually know what he said because
I actually don't know.
oh, okay, yeah, well, uh, somebody actually
Was there an interview where they're like, actually, he said this,
no, somebody somehow
subtitled it?
fixed the dialogue or something,
Oh,
picked up a mic or something. There's some,
what?
yeah, but
That kind of ruins it, though, I think, a
yeah,
little.
because that's
That's
the
not,
point.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's the point. Yeah, you don't know what he
yeah.
said. Okay, well, yeah, so don't watch
So
that version.
no, no, yeah, just it can be what you need it to be, but
Okay.
yeah.
All right. Cool.
So brings us to number 39, my oldest film on the list.
Oh, wow.
1926 is The General with Buster Keaton.
Some Keaton. Buster Keaton.
So it's perhaps problematic movie in our current moment as Keaton plays a Confederate train engineer that has to steal back a train that the Union soldiers have made off with.
Well,
Um,
I mean, if it's history, I don't know if is it any more problematic now than it was before?
um,
I
it's always had a bit of
well,
a
I've never seen
reputation.
this. I've never seen the
Yes,
general.
that's fair.
So is it more is there just stuff in it that's more blatant? Oh, well, I guess does it take place in the South and there's some
Yeah, it takes place
ah
in the South. Yeah, it avoids some of the what we might fear. Some of the it's not Birth of a Nation, but
okay, because that's
definitely
the
has
crowning.
positive view of the Confederacy. But
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. Well, hey, they're trying to. I guess more recent movies obviously try to deal with the nuances, and we've had movies that take place and deal with Southern characters and Confederate characters and show their human side. I don't think there's anything wrong with that, but I'm guessing in the 1920s style, it probably wouldn't be quite that way.
yeah. I mean, it's I think it's watchable today. I don't think it's not Birth of a Nation. You're not
Hey,
it's
uh,
yeah, but
I
that's
well, I think Birth of a Nation is you know such an important movie from a technical perspective. It's like I'm always like, I kind of do recommend it on one hand, but I take it with a grain of salt,
yeah.
like just caveat of remember this.
Well, it's Roger Ebert with Triumph of the Will, where his review is like, yes, this is a important film. It is a technical marvel, but it is an evil film, and you need to understand that.
And you don't think The General is an evil film, I hope.
No, I don't think I would not have it on my list if I felt it, but if
The content was just too
yeah,
much to get
no.
past. Yeah.
But to talk about the movie a little bit,
Hmm.
it is a 90-minute roughly, maybe a little less, just action movie.
Oh,
It's Buster Keaton doing all of his own stunts,
nice.
and indeed inspired Jackie Chan's own roles as he's has to uh, hang off the train at various angles, and it's just it's if you like stunts, this is a great movie to watch.
That's interesting because
It is,
it I guess it balances the old silent comedy of having to physically act that would inform his later stunts. Yeah,
yeah. Um,
cool.
so I do highly recommend it. It's short. I think it's the public domain. Just
Mm.
be warned that it's from a Confederate perspective. So depending on your particular feelings, but yeah, it's just action, and it's done so well, and it's hilarious, and it's exciting, and the man that you see doing all those stunts is he's doing all his own stunts. They're all in camera. Um, there's not a lot of special effects here. They actually crashed the train at the
Oh,
big climactic moment.
that's
So
that's awesome because they had
yeah,
no other way of trying to trick you
yeah,
and make it
yeah,
convincing. So it's like he's the first Tom Cruise, basically.
yeah. Basically,
Oh, wow, that's awesome.
yeah.
Wow, check it out.
So number 38 is 1986's Labyrinth, with
Ah,
David Bowie as the Goblin King, and
you're just not a Dark Crystal guy, huh? Damn.
Dark Crystal is fine, but
Oh man,
Labyrinth is
it's got
Labyrinth.
David Bowie in it. I got it.
It's Bowie. It's musical. It's fun. The puppet work is just amazing, and credit to Dark Crystal, but Dark Crystal didn't have to work around actual humans
Hmm,
and make them feel like part of the world.
that's true.
So this I had probably still have a crush on Jennifer Connelly. Um,
Well, she looks
for,
about the same, so
yeah, I would say she really hasn't aged in
much,
about
yeah.
30
In what,
years,
30
but
years or yeah.
yeah, but yeah, it's a fun movie. Magic Dance is a great song. Love the dreaminess of the
Mhm.
film, particularly as the world falls down sequence.
Do you like the worm?
Yeah,
Is the worm evil?
he is doing his job.
Okay, he's cryptic at the very least.
Yeah, that's his job.
I'm
His
just a
job
worm.
is to
Um,
yeah.
what's Frank Oz's character in that again? What's his name? I always
Oh,
forget. Her buddy,
yeah.
the little dwarf-looking guy, kind of goblin-esque.
Yeah.
Come on, he's one of your favorite movies. You should know it, Peter.
I know.
Is it
I'm
Hoffel
blanking.
or something
Yes,
weird like that?
it's
Oh man,
Hoggle.
Hoggle. Okay. Oh, I was close. One
Yeah.
thing about Hoggle that I always really liked was I think it says a lot about Jim Henson's a lot, and I mean I guess you appreciate the imaginative, well, the magic of what they do in that particular style. But he's a great example of, much like I guess E.T., of making something that seems kind of ugly but is still sort of cute in a strange way.
Yeah. They um yeah they find cuteness in
Unlikely places, or
yeah.
yeah, uh, yeah. So was this just one that you just enjoyed a lot as a kid, or did you watch it later? Or
Yeah, I watched it. I enjoyed it as a kid. It stuck with me. One of my close friends in college, this was her favorite movie. So
Mhm.
at one point, we fake kidnapped her to go to a special screening of it that was playing at a theater. So I have a lot of fond memories about it. I think the songs remain great. The
Cool visuals.
Yeah, cool visuals, great production design. The like MC Escher
Yeah, yeah.
stairs.
That weird staircase is really cool.
Yeah, I think the action is very strong. I think of the village fight with Sir Didymus, and um, there's a lot of just great little jokes. It's just a fantastic all around movie.
Yeah, I do like it. I admit I always have a little bit of a chip on my shoulder because I've always been a little more of a Dark Crystal guy. And I guess the only reason for that is maybe for me, I guess it helps with the immersion of like the pure Muppet, but also dark fantasy element. Whereas I think you're right. The testament uh the to Labyrinth is, you're right, being able to do that, but have them work with humans is perhaps in some ways more impressive. But I don't know. I like the fact that Dark Crystal is like pure Jim Henson Muppets, but to like the darkest extent. Whereas I think Labyrinth loses a little bit of that edge in a way. Maybe it's a little more accessible.
Yeah,
Uh,
I do think the Labyrinth kind of pulls its punches.
like for instance, you know how like the Dark Crystal obviously deals with some pretty heavy stuff, intense. Would you say that the goblins in Labyrinth are some of the least threatening goblins of all time?
Yeah, I'd say they're pretty low on the threat level.
Okay. Well, that might be part of it too. But even maybe I'd have to watch it again. But the Goblin King's motivations for what he does is the. I always kind of wondered, and maybe there is a line. Is it ever explicitly explained why David Bowie is the king of the goblins when he himself does not physically appear to be a goblin?
Nope, it's just that's
He
how it
just took
is.
over. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it may be that he's a goblin and that's what he looks like. It may be that it's a title that he's
Take king
shows
of
up
the
and
goblins. Yeah.
yeah, declares himself. I know that there is some. This has been adapted into other media, so maybe the answers lie there.
Mhm.
But
Probably.
yeah, but
Okay.
it's a very unique film. A lot of memorable. I will say one of the things that always stands out to me is the sequence in the like the junkyard of memories,
Oh.
where she has to overcome her nostalgia and give up these childish things and sort of
Ah.
grow up. That uh, I remember from being young, and it continues to take on new meanings as I grow up and realize, yeah, maybe sometimes I've got to let some things go and move on with my life.
Gotcha.
So number 37 is 2008's Wendy and Lucy,
What is
starring Michelle Williams. I know that
what I'm
I'm
like? Yeah, you're like, what is this? You're throwing some curveballs.
yeah, I feel like
I got,
the other lists were like
I
here,
kind of knew, I knew a little more about these. Like this is Wendy, Michelle Williams, and who?
basically just Michelle Williams
Oh,
and her dog.
oh, oh. Uh,
Like
okay,
Will Patton's in it for like a scene, and yeah,
okay.
it's directed by Kelly Reichardt, who most recently did First Cow. Um, Also did Meek's Cutoff and Old Joy. Sort of a very indie director, um,
Hmm.
though has some fame in those circles. This is a very simple story of a woman who's driving north to Alaska for work, whose car breaks down, um, who uh, ends up getting arrested trying to shoplift dog food,
Oh,
and her dog is taken away. And the movie is sort of her wandering around this town in the Pacific Northwest trying to get her dog back,
huh.
interacting with a few of the characters and sort of coming to some difficult decisions.
Huh. Interesting. Is so this is more of a drama, I guess?
Oh yeah, it's definitely a drama.
Okay.
It's
Uh,
short. It's tight. It's
hmm.
focused. It's stuck with me not just because I have a dog, had a dog
Okay.
named Lucy,
Oh, wow.
um, but it is, as I mentioned with Labyrinth. Sometimes the best decision is to leave certain things behind.
Hmm.
Although this is maybe a darker take on that.
Oh man. Wow. Well, I guess can't say much. Do I know the director? Would I been familiar with anything
The
or
only thing that First Cow from last year or Meek's Cutoff from 2014. Um, yeah, she's very much an indie director,
huh. Okay.
but there's a lot of these like Pacific Northwest kind of naturalistic kind of movies.
Gotcha.
Certainly worth checking out. But these are her movies are not
For the faint of heart?
not for the faint of heart. Not for anybody looking for action-packed excitement. There are a
More
lot of
quiet.
like yeah, quiet
Gotcha.
contemplation of mortality and
Just, light snacks for
yeah,
your yeah,
yeah,
gotcha.
yeah. Put gather the kids around and
Get your
hey
popcorn
kids,
ready.
yeah.
Yeah, this will be a good time. I
Um,
got you.
yeah, but this is one that stuck with me. I do recommend checking it out if you can, but it is
I will.
it's a heavy movie.
Yeah, sounds like it, but I guess I'll have to add it to my ever-growing list.
Yeah. So number 36 is 1962's Lawrence of Arabia.
Ah, okay. I know about this one, but I have not seen it in full. I think I've seen bits and pieces as a young one. So you got to
Yeah.
tell me all about why I should have watched it, Peter.
Well, I will say my first experience with this film was seeing it on a would have been on basic television on one of the networks on a like 13-inch CRT TV,
Hmm.
and I loved it. I thought it was great. It was I saw it probably in high school. I really enjoyed it.
Oh wow.
Performances are great. And then a few years later, I got to see it on in film on the 65 millimeter full experience, and that's
Mhm.
when it became one of the greatest movies I've ever seen.
Oh, so when you got the actual theatrical experience, because it's an
Yeah,
epic, and so you think that's like if you can do it, that's definitely the way to
if
do
you
it.
can do it, that's the way to see it. I think it's a great movie on its own. It's an exciting adventure, great score, great performances.
Man, I can hear the
Um,
love already. You're just like
yeah,
you
it's
can't contain
just
yourself.
it's just a fun movie. It is long.
How long is it?
Uh,
It's like it's really long, right?
it's like yeah.
Is that another
I mean,
4 hour
like,
one or
yeah,
something?
I think it was. I think the original version I saw was like the TV version was 3 hours. But it is, I believe it is close to four. I definitely had an intermission when I saw it in the theater.
Gotcha.
But see it on the big screen if ever it's going around. Um, it is, it is epic in all of the senses of that word.
All right. Well, I guess a two-part question for you. I mean, you obviously loved it for the experience and just it really enjoyed seeing in the theater and it just it clung to you. But is there anything specific about it that spoke to you that, of course, made it personal for you before you watched in the theater? And also, uh, I feel like I've heard echoes, a few naysayers, not many, but maybe that it's a problematic movie or something. White savior
Well,
or something
yeah,
again.
as far as the problematic, there are a lot of white British actors, including Alec Guinness,
Okay.
cast as Arabic actor or Arabic characters.
Okay. Okay.
So it is a little distracting sometimes.
Okay.
I think Alec Guinness is good enough to pull it off, but some of them you're like, oh, okay, so he's
Eh,
supposed to be the Prince of Egypt. Well, okay.
hmm,
Um, but the thing that was a moment early in the film
mhm,
where it's basically this long shot where they uh, Lawrence and his guide have arrived at this oasis. There's like a shadow in the background that you see approaching,
mhm.
and the guide realizes, oh, we're on we're trespassing on this oasis, and he's pulling out this rifle. It's this whole long thing.
Oh my.
Gets Guy gets shot, and then up rides. I believe it's Omar Sharif in that scene. It's been a while since I've seen it, but it's just this long, like 5 minute scene of this rider slowly approaching, building the suspense that
Yep.
really just stuck with me. And then again, amazing score that you'll know when you hear it. It's been reused plenty of times
Yeah, I
since.
think I've actually heard it just in passing and trailers and stuff. And I'll admit, Peter, just your describing of that scene had me like on my edge, my seat a little bit. Like I was like, "Ooh, where is this gonna go?" Like I was intrigued just by your description of that scene. So that's something.
Yeah, I strongly recommend checking it out. Ideally on the biggest screen you can, but I think it does hold up even in the home theater viewing. Maybe not on your cell phone, but
So you think you take David Lynch's advice and not watch this thing on your cell phone?
yeah. I think David Lynch generally has good advice. So
I think you might be onto something. Yeah. Cool. Well, of all the movies that I haven't seen so far on your list, do you think this is most recommended I watch now, or should I wait?
if you can see it on a theater, if you can see it on a
Mm,
big, even if you have to drive to Philadelphia or something to see it, go.
mhm.
Just
Okay.
it is that good. It is
Okay.
worth it.
Okay.
Um, yeah, but yeah, I do highly recommend this one. It's fun. It's exciting. Um, it is long. You may have to do it in two sittings, and that's okay. But definitely worth checking out.
Gotcha.
So number 35 is 1984's The Company of Wolves.
Hmm.
Uh, I would say featuring, not starring, Angela Lansbury.
Oh, isn't that? Didn't you tell me about this before? Wasn't this isn't it a werewolf kind of
Yes,
movie?
kind
Yeah.
of. Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
sort of retelling of uh, Little Red Riding Hood, albeit with werewolves instead of uh,
An
with an
act
actual wolf. Or
It's kind of an allegory for werewolves anyways.
yes, I mean,
Yeah.
as with all werewolf movies, as with Little Red Riding Hood, it has makes text a lot of the subtext of those stories.
Hmm.
Um, but this is a movie that I saw when I was fairly young, and it stuck with me. There's a scene early on of these wolves sort of charging through the forest um, that stuck with me. And it took me forever to see this movie again
Hmm.
and realize, oh, that's what that's from. I don't know
Oh,
how I saw it. It's pretty, I believe it's like an R-rated movie, so this is not really for fairy tale for kids, but yeah, this is one that I just really enjoy. Again, it
hmm.
has that dreamlike atmosphere, and that it's sort of a story within a story. There's actually several levels to the stories that are being told.
When you told me about it, I guess it kind of reminds me a little bit of that. Did you ever see that 90s horror kind of version of Snow White with Sigourney Weaver?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah,
Is it kind of in that vein, sort of?
yeah. Kind of in that vein, I'd say it's better than that.
Okay.
Although it's a fine movie.
Yeah, it's all right.
Um, yeah, this is part of it's that you got Angela Lansbury at her sort of sauciest at the center. She's has a
That's
lot of
that's like a Murder She Wrote period, right, for her?
yeah. That's I think it's maybe right before Murder She Wrote, or maybe even during.
Okay.
But she has a lot of fun with it. And if you enjoy Murder She Wrote, definitely worth seeing her in this a little bit different of a role.
Is she villainous or what
No,
is her
she's
role?
she's the grandmother. Although again, it's a little different than the original story.
Hmm.
Without saying too much about
Okay.
exactly what's going on, but yeah, so it's as with Wes Craven's New Nightmare, does a lot with sort of the why we tell stories, what stories mean, and how meaning is assigned.
Interesting.
And
What
definitely worth checking out, although a little bit difficult to find. I think it was on Amazon Prime for a while, but the DVD has been out of print for a while, unfortunately.
Well, as somebody who has thought about trying to attempt a werewolf movie at some point, do you think this is one that would be helpful for to study? Or
Yeah, I would say this, Ginger Snaps, and Dog Soldiers are probably all good ones to watch,
okay.
because they're all. This is probably the biggest budget of those three,
Oh,
but even then, it's sort of if you're looking for fresh takes on the werewolf story, this is definitely a good one to examine.
good. Okay.
All right, so number 34 is 2011's Drive, uh, the film about driving.
Well, that's like saying that Deliverance is about a canoe trip, right? It's like
Yeah, I mean,
it's not wrong, but there it
no, it's
might be
not wrong.
might,
It's
might be a simplification, right?
Yeah, yeah. Watch Ryan Gosling drive around for
He
two
he
hours.
he did. Yeah, you know what? It's very possible that Nicholas Winding Refn could have done that. Could have been like Locke, just 2 hours of he's in the car driving, and it could have still been interesting. But it's they definitely mix it up a bit with non-driving scenes in the movie. but
Yeah,
but perhaps it's also maybe a commentary on what drives us to do what we do
true. Yeah,
to make decisions, like the drive to for
yeah,
greed or for the thrill or for protecting people,
yeah, yeah.
the
It's
inner
like,
drive
yeah,
of people.
yeah. Who among us has not had that moment where we're like, should I kick this man's head in on an elevator in front of my love?
Well,
Uh,
you might have thought about it, and you probably didn't act on it, but he clearly felt that in that moment. Well, to be fair, in that context, that moment, I think it was to protect somebody. So,
yes.
maybe it was actually slightly more on the self-defense side, but
Yeah, I still hold that that's Ryan Gosling's most romantic moment on
more
film.
more so than any like The Notebook or anything like that. Oh
Yeah,
wow,
but this is the style of this movie is amazing. The shots of driving around and at night in Los Angeles are great. The
soundtrack's
music is
good
on
too.
point. Yeah, great
Yep.
soundtrack. Um, Part of it is the reason it's on this list is the Albert Brooks performance as the villain is just
It's, it's weird is that I that comes up every time, and I remember talking about it with talk about Albert Brooks sometimes with Dan, and it's just like, and he's always like, "Oh yeah, he was in Drive as that villain." And what's weird about that villain too is that he's basically just Albert Brooks but evil, which
yeah.
which works surprisingly well.
Yeah, he's like a nice
Very,
guy, but he's
he's very
also got,
respectful,
yeah,
polite, and he seems
yeah,
I just got to do what I got to do. But it's almost that lack of passion makes it scarier because he's not driven by anger. It's just purely practical for him, really.
yeah, and it becomes this interesting playoff of Ryan Gosling, who I believe is just called Driver in the movie. I don't think we ever get a name for him.
Hmm.
Um, who also has that he just needs to drive. He just that's what he does. I'm going to drive, and it has that taxi driver esque circularity to it, where it sort of ends the exact same way it begins. You can kind of you know restart the movie, and it just cycles through again, and it has an interesting loop.
Almost dreamlike in a way again, kind of.
Yeah,
You know, uh, Ron Perlman's, I guess, the nicer of the two bad guys in this one, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah,
Nino or whatever his name
yeah,
is.
we
Yeah.
never, yeah. Ron Perlman does not get
Love.
yeah, no, no.
And also, yeah, Walter White. Bryan Cranston's
Yep,
also against. I guess at the time would have seemed more against type, but he plays a good role.
yeah,
Uh, yeah, dude, I think me. From a stylistic perspective, this movie is just a lot of what I like, and I often was like, if I could make movies on that scale, I would like to try and attempt to make a movie like this. Like I like that kind of gritty, but also very slick neo noir crime thriller, and you could do a lot of interesting things, like the whole like for instance the elevator scene bashing the
mm,
guy's head, and it's that wonderful Nicholas Winding Refn. I think is good at that. Just the showing this kind of horrific thing, but trying to show that it's beautiful as well is a interesting thing to attempt. Really is. I think he pulls it off.
yeah, 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 and it's and and I will say that the driving sequences are so yeah. I think of the initial
That first one, yeah, is really
yeah,
tense. Like, oh my.
it's tense, but it's also like slow at times. It has there's a rhythm to it that I love the like Fast and Furious movies. They're a lot of fun,
Uh-oh.
but not like this. Not with this.
Should he direct the next Fast and Furious movie,
I
maybe?
mean, I would love to see him do just. I don't know I don't know if it'd be good, but I'd be
Well, maybe
interested to see.
he'd have to bring it back down kind of closer to the original, make it a
Yeah,
little
I feel
grounded.
like, yeah, he would do a sort of back to basics, but where do you go after you've gone to space? You gotta,
You go to another dimension or back in time or something,
yeah,
fight dinosaurs.
dinosaurs or
Oh, what?
Transformers, yeah, but
Jurassic Park, yeah, yeah. That's fair, man. No, it's a really good movie. So that's one where you just really liked everything about it from a stylistic
yeah,
perspective.
every time I watch that movie, I get lost in it for
Mm. Hmm.
whatever 2 hours, however long it is. I just as soon as that music starts, I'm in it, and I'm there, and it's like taking a nap and having this as a dream, and then waking up and maybe just starting all over again. But
Yeah,
and I also do love just driving nowhere at night. This does appeal to that, as with American Graffiti, sort of the just,
wandering nature
yeah,
kind of.
driving. When I growing up in a small town, that's kind of what you did for fun sometimes. Is that it's well, don't want to go to anyone's house. Let's just drive for 2 hours and see where we end up.
Hey, that's what I've done, man. I drove around a lot too as a young man, so I get that. That's cool.
Yeah. So number 33 is 1993's The Nightmare Before Christmas.
Oh, okay. So you don't think it's overrated, or do
I
you?
do not know. I mean, I do agree that the Hot Topic crowd kind of ruined it. But I liked the movie before it was popular.
Okay, okay.
Um,
Oh, you liked it before it was cool, I guess,
yeah,
or I guess it was always kind of cool, though, right?
yeah, it was always kind of cool. I mean, I saw this in theaters.
Okay.
Um, and I'll spoiler alert. This is kind of my Disney Renaissance movie on here. There's a few others that
What?
um, may have made it. And I know this isn't quite the Disney Renaissance.
Not 100%. No,
No, I mean, it's not even technically. It's sort of a
it's endorsed retroactively.
yeah, it's a
Yeah,
Buena Vista release, but
we own
Henry
it now.
Selick and Tim
Yeah,
Burton. But yeah,
yeah.
um, but this is one that um, I love the songs. I think they're just great. They're singable. It's easy enough to sing along to. I love, I mean, two of my favorite holidays are Christmas and Halloween. This, in college, this was kind of one of those things that helped me get through that. The doldrums of November and final season of sort of looking forward
Oh.
to the end of the semester now that I'm a professor, maybe even has more meaning. Love the design, the aesthetics, the fact that Christmas Town feels like Christmas Town, that Halloween Town feels like it, that even when we get the sort of fusion of the two, it feels real, it feels connected, it feels like, yes, this is what the two would look like together.
Hmm.
But yeah, and it has a great message of, uh, you're probably better off sticking to what you do best, but a little experimentation is probably okay
So you can
to,
kind of figure out what you're good at and who you
yeah,
are. Yeah.
yeah, it's better, you can't, I mean, the ultimate message is you can't quite,
You can't the square peg into the round hole sort of thing. Sometimes
yeah,
it's true. Yeah.
yeah, you've got to sort of find your meaning, even if you end up back where you started.
That's
You've got
okay.
to, yeah,
Yeah.
um, you know, although maybe not okay for the poor kids that got the, but they never seem that
Well,
traumatized
are you
by
kidding me? Ah, I guess
the parents,
the
yeah, the
parents,
parents,
look, uh, there has been a case that's been made that Jack Skellington was kind of a villain. I mean, he had such an impact on the world that They were literally trying to shoot him out of the sky. The military was launching anti-aircraft to take him down. So I think some people were upset.
Yeah, yeah, but again,
Lesson learned.
as in life, parents often overreact on behalf of the kids
True,
because kids are tougher than we give them credit for, and
true.
most of the moral panics of the 90s and even today are a little bit overblown, but
Oh,
that's a whole other discussion.
about many things. You're absolutely right. Just little. I haven't watched that one in a while, and I'll be honest. There's always kind of been a part of me that just kind of wants to hate on a little bit. I totally get the resentment, but based on my memory, I always liked it. I never had a problem with it. I enjoy. I think I really like a lot of the designs of the creatures, and there is kind of that sort of creepiness that pervades even the things that, of course, are supposed to be cute, just by the nature of the animation. Like Santa Claus, I actually think is kind of creepier than everybody else
Yeah,
in the movie,
yeah,
ironically. Um, I also really, when I think about the iconic things about the movie, I think about Sally the
mm,
most. Like I really like her design of that sort of Lady Frankenstein, sewed together. There's something about that visceral nature of it that stuck out to me. I really liked her, the gags with her
yeah,
arms falling off and the humor of that and how that could be useful. And I like her mad scientist dad sort of is he's
yeah,
I liked him. And yeah, do you like the romance? I've heard some people don't.
yeah. I actually really like the romance. I think it's sweet. It's earned. It makes sense.
I think what works about it is that it's one-sided for much of the movie because
Yeah,
that's also fits in, I guess, with Jack's theme of not knowing the good that's in front of him or something.
yeah, yeah, and it's again a similar theme to American Graffiti of sometimes it's okay to um, take that you don't have to see the world. Sometimes you can find happiness where you are.
Uh, all right. Well, before we wrap up on that one, I'll tell you what. I'll have you guess something, and I'll ask you a question. First of all, you like the songs. Do you have a favorite song?
Um, Probably either Sally's song or Jack's Lament.
Okay.
Either her sort of very short. Sally's song's about a minute.
Hmm.
I think Jack's Lament is also very short, but both of those stand out to me. Um, I don't know, something about them sticks with me. I really like the sequences in the film. They're both a part of. Um, um, but I would say the thing that really sticks with me as far as the songs is the soundtrack
Hmm.
has Patrick Stewart does the narration,
Hmm.
um, and at the end there's a little epilogue that I think is very strong and adds to the movie where he basically is like, yeah, would you, knowing what you know now, would you still do it? Uh, Response is, wouldn't you? That it's not in the movie. It
Yeah, I was
was,
about to
I
say
believe,
I don't think
yeah,
I remember hearing that.
believe it was a deleted scene, but it's on the soundtrack. So,
Okay.
which I only know because I think this may have been the first movie soundtrack we downloaded off of Napster. So,
What? How could you?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Metallica's
But
gonna be so upset with you.
oh yeah, no, they're yeah.
Well, I have a question for you. Could you guess my favorite character or characters in the movie? It's connected to my
Ooh,
favorite song, actually.
okay.
Might
Okay.
not be the most pretty of them, but it sticks with me.
Okay. Oh, is it Mr. Oogie Boogie?
You're very close. I actually really like the kids,
Oh
uh,
yeah,
uh, and I like their kidnap the Santa Claus. Lock him in a
yeah,
box, bury him for 90 years, and then we'll see if he talks. There's
yeah,
just something about very gleeful and morbid, and I kind of like that. I guess Oogie Boogie's influencing them, but I kind of like how they're they're quite possibly the most evil characters, but they're just
yeah,
trick or treating kids. They're not monsters or ghouls. They're just trick or treat. There's something very sinister about them, which I like.
Yeah, yeah. The movie understands that children can be quite cruel
Little
in their own way. Because Mr. Oogie Boogie is just gonna play
manipulating
games
them.
with you and maybe drop you into some boiling magma. But
Uh,
they're gonna do worse to you if they.
yeah, they really because they really want to make their boss happy, so they'll go to great lengths to do what they got to do. Yeah, but that's does it annoy you that this is often sort of mistook as Tim Burton's movie when it's not really his movie? Or is it his movie? Do you kind of look at it as a Tim Burton movie? Because I don't know. The more I find out, I'm like, I don't know how much of it really is.
I mean, some credit does go to Tim Burton for this. I think it's a Henry Selick movie, and we could talk about, Coraline's probably on the short list,
Oh yeah,
but didn't make this list.
no, good movie.
Yeah, good movie. But I think I mean, that's the nature of Hollywood is that people don't always get the credit. We tend to credit a director over, say, a production designer or a writer, even unless they happen to do both, or costume design,
It's also
or
about
even
selling the movie too, like
yeah,
recognizable names and whatnot.
yeah. It's going to sell better as a Tim Burton came up the year after Batman Returns. So
Mm-hmm.
Tim Burton film is going to sell better than a Henry Selick film,
Mm.
just as it sells better as a Walt Disney production, even if it's not.
True, true.
So I think that
Was that
moving on to
32, right?
32,
Yep.
1987's RoboCop.
Oh, now it's a real list. It gets the stamp. Gets the stamp.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, tell me,
So,
this obscure film? I've never heard of it.
well, you see, there is a police officer who is half man,
Okay.
half machine, but all
Oh,
cop.
oh, wow. The law is that important. What an interesting. Sounds cheesy, man. Sounds like a dumb action movie from the
Yeah,
80s.
it's really just a dumb action movie. There's no no religious undercurrents or commentary that is relevant in our current cultural climate. Yeah, it's
And
just a 90 minutes of robot shooting people.
I mean, it could be entertaining, but I might like it or might skip it. I don't know. I'll have to get back to you on
Yeah, yeah, it's
that. Why do you like this RoboCop film?
um, there are a lot of reasons.
Sure.
I really enjoy the work of Paul Verhoeven.
Hmm.
Uh, he has a way with satire that I
Nobody
think
else really does.
maybe only somebody that grew up in Nazi Germany would have. Um,
Yeah.
he makes it. He takes what could have been a dumb, low budget movie and makes it into something that valuable. It's funny. It has surprising heart. It
Yeah.
has a lot of great commentary on a lot of stuff that's still going on today, of like corporate malfeasance and the tendency to well, maybe maybe not take the best care of our human resources sometimes, when we could just build a robot. And the commercials are great. The like fake commercials interspersed throughout. Um,
I mean, I guess
yeah,
workers' rights, you're right. And
yeah,
you're right. Obviously the dilemma of the workforce with technology pushing it forward, like how relevant are the people anymore if they can just be replaced? See? Man, okay. Okay.
yeah. It's just there's so much to recommend it. Um, it's funny. It's got some great action. It has an end. The ending is
Which part? The like the
um,
last fight or the office scene?
the very yeah the very end um, doesn't really solve anything. The big bad corporation's still there. Yeah,
Well, it solves one thing, which is I actually think it's probably one of the best movie endings of all time because it's the what's your name, son?
yeah,
Murphy. Like he knows
yeah,
who he is and he found it again and it's still Murphy under there, and that's
Yeah,
it's simple. And you're right. Outside of it, still kind of a lot of problems, but once again, you get like a focus, a very human story about one person. You've got all this stuff around it, of course, but the main thing we wanted to see at
mhm,
the end, and the thing, but you also bring up a good point, which I think someone else brought up, was that in another way, it also doesn't resolve anything because, well, his life was still ruined, upheavaled, like he lost his family, like it's just you're right. End of that movie, if you it has a triumphant moment. It is great, but if you stop to think about it, like wow, it still was a not a perfect solution in a way.
yeah, but that helps emphasize that it is his story and he has an arc,
Hmm.
and it's not an arc that, again, the remake biffed it because they kept his family involved.
Wait,
His
they
family's
wait a minute. They remade this schlocky action movie from the 80s.
yeah, I
Oh
know.
wow.
Back in that that time they were trying to remake all of the schlocky 80s action movies, and
So wait, in the new one, did they keep his hand for some reason? Did he have like a human hand? They said that was like important to the film in some way, right?
I
I think I saw a
yeah,
trailer, something like that.
I saw it once and immediately just confined it to the memory junkyard. So,
Oh,
but it yeah it knows what it is. It is schlocky, but there's heart to it. There's meaning to it. There's art to it.
oh yeah,
Um, there's a religious reading of this movie that I think does hold up.
yeah, yeah. Uh-huh.
There's a the movie sort of there's two halves to it. You can watch it, read it a certain way. It is one of those 80s movies that on the surface sort of treated as, oh, it's just part of like the dumb 80s, but it's so much smarter. It's so much more.
Oh yeah, you kind of have an assumption about it, and then you realize there's much more to it, and it deliberately on the surface is that, and it knows that, and it knows that the audience might think that, but they're getting a lot more. Do you have a specific favorite line or scene from that RoboCop movie?
Well, I think for me, seeing the dad from that 70s show
Hmm.
come in and just say, bitches leave. Um, that was a formative moment in my young life.
I've heard that actually echoes in the halls of great film lines. It really
Yeah,
does.
yeah, but yeah, there's great villains in this movie.
Hmm.
There's just great plots. It's a future that feels realistic,
Hmm.
and that maybe we're living in now. Maybe not quite
Oh,
as polluted as this.
uh,
We didn't accidentally kill all of our former presidents with a space laser, but
ah, all of them, like all were in the same resort. Oh man, what a defect. Whoops,
yeah,
whoops. Also housed two former U.S. presidents. Oh, whoops, man. They just, you know, spare parts for how many years, man? Don't who cares if it worked or not? That's
yeah.
the motto, I guess. Now, before we leave though of that film, I believe there was this character Bob Morton. Do you believe that he made a mistake, or do you think he made the right decision?
Well, considering what happened to him, his
Well,
mistake, he needed to brown nose a little more. He got too cocky. So
but part of his mistake was making RoboCop and believing in that program.
yes, but the real mistake was talking
Messing,
where Dick Jones could hear him, and you know,
he messed with the wrong guy.
yeah,
Yeah, gotcha. And then he got cashed out.
yeah. Hey, it was the 80s. That's how things went.
That's right. I'd buy that for $1.
All right. So number 31 is 2001's Amelie. It was
Oh,
a French film starring Audrey Tautou by the director Jean-Pierre Jeunet,
oh
who
my
previously
gosh.
did Delicatessen and City of Lost Children, which both potentially could have been on the list and maybe on some other version of the list. But this is the one that I um, went with now in part because of the past year being an utterly terrible. So this is maybe the nicest of his films, sort of a light romance, but with a lot of little dreamlike. Again, those sort of daydream-esque moments, as when she melts into a puddle of water.
If I remember correctly, it was a very quirky movie, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's very quirky. It's was very popular at the time. It was well received. I think it,
Hmm.
I believe it won the Oscar
Best
for,
foreign, right?
yeah, for best foreign. If not, it probably should have.
It
Um,
definitely got some buzz when it was out. I remember that.
yeah, it definitely got some Oscar noms, and I think it's still worth watching. It's very quirky French kind of movie, but it has a sort of a nice overall message of finding what you like. There's a sort of undercurrent of this her trying to do these nice little acts for people that don't always work out the way that she wants.
But she's
Um,
trying.
yeah, and it is sort of this um, again fairy tale esque film, and I think certainly holds up. It's definitely worth. Um,
I know I watched it. I think for Film Fanatics years ago. Uh, I think I liked it, but I don't know if I totally got it. I'd have to probably watch it again. Uh, I guess is it the for you the personal connection? Is it just more like kind of that idea of finding what you like and her journey? And honestly, I also don't remember it that well. It's been a while.
yeah, that's fair. I mean, and that's part of it. Part of it's I saw it when I was sort of getting into film.
Hmm.
Was maybe probably not the first French movie I saw, but the first one that I was kind of like, oh, okay, I get it now. I get. Um,
Ha ha.
yeah, and I really like the director.
Hmm.
In spite of Alien Resurrection, which is his only American film,
That has its place.
that has its place. That is worth a discussion at some
Sure.
future point. But
Sure. Maybe it'll be on our list of sci-fi movies that should be talked about more,
yeah,
or
I
maybe
think
it's been talked about enough.
I think it deserves to be revisited at some point.
Okay. Okay.
But yeah, it's sort of a nice little romantic movie with sort of quirky elements in it. It's a good afternoon watch. It's very sort of low key, relaxed.
That seems to be your theme for the romances is low key, nice, kind of quiet, rainy afternoon, some tea.
Yeah, that definitely is kind of my type. Although this is a happier ending than some of the other ones I've mentioned.
Oh, good.
So,
I forget, so
um,
I'll have to watch it again.
so number 30 is The Sweet Hereafter from 1997. That
Sounds familiar.
yeah, it's one of those bleak, realistic movies that I
Great.
seem to come back to. Stars Ian Holm in what I think is his best performance
Wait a
as a.
minute. So, okay. Ash, Bilbo, that guy from the Fifth Element. This is better than all those.
Oh, I agree. Yeah,
Okay. Okay.
yeah.
Okay. All right.
Those are all great performers. I think Ian Holm is a great actor, but
Oh yeah.
this is
I'm just
yeah.
checking.
He is a sort of ambulance chasing lawyer who comes to this small Canadian town where had been a tragic bus accident that had killed most of the town's children, with
Ugh.
only young Sarah Polly being the only survivor
Oh.
of the children. And it's a bleak film, but it's sort of thoughtful as he's dealing with his own personal issues, and it reflects on the temporality of life. But it's just a beautiful film. It finds beauty in both sort of these warmer memories, but also in the bleak midwinter of Canada.
Hmm.
um, and it just does some things really help me, realize that you have to make the most of the time you have when you have it, and also just don't be a terrible person. But
Sounds like good advice.
yeah, but it is the sort of strange, beautiful movie, very, very much in the zeitgeist of 1997, but has
Y-
since fallen out.
is it it does it seem like a very 80s movie? Because when I don't usually think of gritty 80s dramas. I mean, I know they're there, but I usually think of the 80s. You think the music, the style, the big bombastic. I know. Uh, I mean, I know like some of the action movies were a little grittier in the 80s, but as a drama, it does it feel. You said it feels very much of the time, or is it would it be
I
distracting?
would say so, although I mean, it's just sort of an indie. It's a very indie, like indie film style
Mhm.
film. Um, it just feels very much of that time, but it is a very, very bleak and very sad film. But it's one that stuck with me, and particularly the sort of flashbacks to his own. There's a sort of a plot thread with his daughter
Mhm.
when she's younger, and there's some interesting stuff there, and it has some of that fairy tale aspects that I jump out at me in these films. But
Hmm, that's another one I guess I'll have to check out.
yeah, definitely not for a sad day, but
But
it's
yeah, still worth watching.
still worth watching. Yeah, it's very heavy, but good.
Gotcha.
So number 29. I did wrestle with putting this on the list.
Hmm.
In
Not
part,
enough because it's 29, so it's not that much
yeah,
of
yeah.
a risk.
In part because of things that have come out since.
Uh-oh.
But it was a very important film to me. It stuck with me.
Okay.
Number 29 is 1995's The Usual Suspects, starring Gabriel Byrne, because I'm not going to name uh,
The other guy?
the other guy, and directed by nobody because, you know,
Oh, oh yeah. Also directed by nobody.
yeah, we're not going to name names on that. Pete Postlethwaite is in it. We get one of the Baldwins,
Uh,
Benicio del Toro,
Kevin Pollak,
Kevin
he
Pollak.
talks about doing somebody in the shower. That's pretty good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
No, yeah, there's a good cast. That person had good direction though, I gotta say.
yeah. It's a very well directed movie.
Uh,
Um,
well, I'll tell you what. I think The Usual Suspects is a great movie. Like when I think about like crime thrillers, crime dramas, and just something about the 90s was like the decade of every movie's got to have a big twist at the end. Like this is one of like the big like who is Kaiser Soze, this haunting. It's more of like an idea than a person, it seems, that Verbal Kint really reminisces about very well. Uh, I um, I really do wonder though, when you say this one might deserve a little explanation because I hear Usual Suspects and I just think Peter has some kind of personal like connection. There's something that feels something connected. What is it? Is it the storytelling thing again? Uh,
Storytelling. I think the twist works. I know that some people since have said, "Oh, it's not well telegraphed enough, or it's sort of random, or why didn't they? Doesn't make sense in the context."
I think it works great.
Yeah, I think it works great. I think it's a great reveal. Part of this is the first Oscars that I got to stay up and watch was 1995,
Oh.
which is when the person who shall not be named won the Best Actor, a Supporting Actor Oscar for his role in this film.
Hmm.
And I saw this the next year, and for a while, this actor was my favorite actor. He's
Well, you want to know something? I could still say that retroactively, he's still one of my favorite actors. I mean, I think his performance is in this movie and in others are, it's hard to deny that he was good at it.
Yeah.
Uh, I can't say anything about. I think the performance here is a great one. Though I would say it's complemented very well by very good writing, I think.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I think the writing, which I think is it one of the it's Jonathan Nolan? It's one of the Nolan
Oh, is it?
brothers.
Is it
I can't remember. I think there was some.
a Nolanite?
Yeah,
Ah,
I think there may have been some Nolan connection there. Maybe I'm
ah,
thinking. Yeah, maybe not.
okay. It seems kind of
No,
Nolan-esque.
it is. Okay, sorry. It's Christopher McQuarrie,
Oh,
who,
oh,
yes, who is one of the Nolan not brothers, but one of
uh,
their fellow travelers.
contemporaries.
Um, yeah,
Okay.
and yeah, um,
Uh,
but yeah. So yeah, this is it's I think still a great film. It's entertaining. It's fun. The twist works. It's a very solid heist movie. I did consider replacing it with Snatch,
hmm.
which is maybe more stylistic.
Then
Uh,
substantive, perhaps.
yeah, but this is the one that I had the personal connection to. That
Okay.
I remember being a kid and being like, "Ooh, that's like an adult movie,"
Is
and getting to watch it the next year, and it's like an adult movie. It's a crime thriller, and it's a lot of talking, but 13 or 14-year-old me just dug it up and ate it up and thought, yeah, Kevin Spacey,
whoops.
man who, yeah, man who
The
will not be named.
he should must not be named.
That's
Uh,
my guy.
well, yeah, he was the guy for a while, and I one thing that's great about Usual Suspects is it's one of those movies that I don't think about it like this, but I do think it's got that quality I think that is essential in great movies of it feels kind of timeless. Like you can't automatically say like when I think it was like 95. It doesn't feel like a very 90s movie to me. It doesn't it seems like it's I don't know. It I can't pin it down by time and place, and yet it still feels very grounded at the same time. And I
Yeah, yeah, and it's a film that sort of outlasts a lot of. There's a lot of pretenders that follow it that try to do the like heist movie with a twist, but this is the one that sticks around.
I think also that Pete Postlethwaite, I just feel like doesn't get enough credit as such a
No,
good actor, and he popped up in a lot of movies like Dragonheart again.
yep,
His monk is a great character. I really he's really great in this as what is the he's the he what is his name again?
Mr. Kobayashi.
Mr. Kobayashi, as in Maru,
Yeah,
like Star Trek
yeah,
reference, of course.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, that's I really like his kind of almost like the handler, like the crooked lawyer. He's so confident, so professional, and just but not phased by any of their threats or anything. And he's really the face of something behind it. But I just think he was a great performer.
yeah. I think this was great all around. I think Gabriel Byrne gave a great performance
Yeah, yeah.
because It's played. He plays it in such a way that you're like, well, maybe he's the guy.
Hmm.
Maybe but yeah, Pete Postlethwaite, great character actor. If you've Brassed Off, sort of a low key British comedy that he stars in. That's if you want more Pete Postlethwaite, Brassed Off is a lot of fun.
All right.
Um, so let's see. Number 28 is 1985's Pee Wee's Big Adventure.
Oh, I saw this not too long ago for the first time.
Yeah, this is one that I see every 5 or 10 years, and it's a fun movie.
Yeah, I once again the dreamlike kid, like imaginative dream world, Burton-esque. The when I watched it with Dan, and of course check out the video on Dan's channel about it. I guess I'll put a link in there too, just for our thoughts on it. But yeah, I really liked how this one was very proto Tim Burton. Like he didn't have, it wasn't fully his movie, but you can just, in some ways, it's very raw and you could kind of see him just all over it at the same time.
Yeah, I love this sort of strange America that we get here, um, where it is recognizably us, but everyone is sort of strange. It's not just Pee Wee, but like the whole world is sort of warped around him, and there's all
And
these
his
other,
perceptions and how he
yeah,
interacts.
these
Yeah.
strange characters, and Large Marge, the biker bar, or
Hmm.
um, yeah, it reminds me in some ways of like the Muppets movie, but I don't know. It just it stuck with me. I love Muppets, but this is one that stuck with me. It just has a certain tone and atmosphere that it's hard to replicate.
Do you relate to Pee Wee in some way?
I wish I could be Pee Wee. I wish I could design a Rube Goldberg machine to make me breakfast, and
Me too. Me too.
uh, the biggest worry in the world is his bike. Uh,
Yeah, that innocence is something that you wish you could you could keep with you longer as you get older. I guess that's kind of the appeal. You know, the funny thing about it is, until I really watched that movie, I always thought of Pee Wee as like this character that would really annoy me. Like, there's no way I would really like Pee Wee, just on face value. But I really like him. I really like him.
yeah, he's just I that's the thing. It could very easily go wrong. Um, it could very easily become too much.
I think
But
that actor I wish did more things because I think maybe this is really what he was supposed to do, but I would have liked to have seen him try more stuff, and I know this.
yeah, I think Paul Rubens, this is what he wants to do, maybe. But it'd be interesting to see what he would do with a serious role, or
Well, I mean, I certainly think he's got the cadence down for more atmospheric shots because we know that if he ever has a disfigured baby that looks like a penguin, he's just gonna throw it into the river and create a supervillain because he's the real villain of the picture in a way.
yeah,
So
yeah,
I mean I think there's a hint of maybe Pee Wee's future when he loses that childlike innocence, man. He loses his humanity and he's not good.
yeah, yeah. I mean, that is a risk.
It certainly is.
All right, so number 27 from 1954 is The Seventh Samurai, the Akira
Oh.
Kurosawa classic.
Hmm.
Um,
Might have heard of it.
yeah, yeah, definitely. Definitely feels like an obvious great film,
That's okay though. Like,
but
I'm that's there can be overlap here. You sometimes
yeah,
you can like a film that happens to be considered a great film. I've got plenty.
yeah, and I think this is just a fantastic film. It's 3.5 hours long. It's ridiculously
It's
long,
long. It's an epic.
but it never. Every time I've seen it, it doesn't feel that long. It's broken down in ways. Has all these lovely character moments. Uh, I think it's definitely rewatchable. It has just a great, maybe one of the all-time great ending lines in film. That the farmers have won, we have lost. Um,
I remember. I'll tell you what. I watched Seven Samurai once a long time ago, and I really liked it. Like I really
hmm,
liked it, and I agree thinking that I knew it was a long movie, but I didn't care. It really was just something I enjoyed watching, and I want to say it was probably the first Kurosawa movie that I watched, but I I I don't think it's my favorite,
hmm.
which I think you might have heard about. But I do think that it could very well be his best movie or the best of his samurai pictures. And I'm is there anything about it for you that for Peter makes it stand out more than a lot of his other great movies? Because he's got quite a few, of course.
Well, this was the first Kurosawa that I saw.
Okay.
I think it happened to be the only one the video store had.
Hmm.
And this was back when you had to get the two tapes to watch the movie.
Hmm. Yep.
So I remember that. I remember watching it at night, being like, "Oh, I'll watch the first half," but ended up watching the whole thing because it was that good.
Nice.
It's just these great performances, these great little character touches. The one samurai who has to shave his head at the beginning every time he's thinking he like unconsciously rubs his head and realizes, oh yeah, I don't have my hair.
Mhm.
But they all feel, despite being Japanese samurai, all feel like unique characters. I can recognize who each of them are. I can understand their personalities,
Mhm.
um, and it's just, it's a great movie about the little guys gathering together to fight the good fight. But the kind of final message of sometimes you win, but even then, a victory is not always for you to enjoy.
It's not always sweet. Yeah.
Yeah, which really stuck with me.
Yeah, I understand that for sure. I it's definitely one I need to watch again in addition to some of the classics on the list I haven't seen. Uh, I uh, I always kind of liked another film a little more based on my memory. Was kind of watching it again recently, actually, but I will tell you that one of my favorite anime has always been the adaptation of this, the
Mm.
Samurai 7. Have you seen that one?
Yeah, yeah,
Which, if I remember correctly, was pretty accurate to the spirit of the movie in the basics. And always liked how the first half of it was basically just the movie. But of course, giant robots and space, and they can cut through mountains and stuff. But then it kind of builds beyond the story, and we actually deal with political stuff later on. But I always really liked the anime, so that was kind of the legacy, which surprised more people don't compare it or talk about.
yeah,
I don't know.
yeah. Well, I'd say it's a very adaptable, because we also have the Magnificent Seven, and
Yeah,
it's a very adaptable story, but one that I think you can do a lot with. And I'm always interested in uh, what else can you do with this?
I also feel like the Samurai 7 story, I have used that premise. I'm sure you have many. How many D&D sessions have been with
Yeah.
like couple warriors have to go help defend this village from
Oh
raiders?
yeah,
That's like
yeah. It's a
101, right?
yeah, it's a very easy way to okay. You've been if some four villagers have asked for your help to set the plot in motion, and how do you go about it? But
7-7.
yeah,
Yep,
it's yeah, very yeah, timeless story that and something that can spread around.
absolutely. Good pick.
26 is 2005's The Descent.
Oh,
But
oh,
yeah, speaking of horror
oh,
films,
oh. Before you go off and say anything, I think that's one of the best horror movies ever made. No question, because it scares the poop out of me. And man, oh man, it's just a lot of things I just don't like to think about. Obviously underground, the claustrophobia and dealing with those creatures are also very effectively scary.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it's a very effective horror movie. Um, I've seen it a number of times. I saw it in theaters when it first came out, and it is, I'd say, probably the scariest movie I've seen. Jacob's Ladder, certainly up there.
Yeah,
Um,
but I think Jacob's Ladder, it's that unsettling,
yeah, they're
creepy.
different kinds of
Descent is very
horror.
much like this is you're in it. you
Yeah,
know.
yeah, you're trapped in there with them.
Oh
Um,
man.
but it is intense. It does good work where the first, like most of the first half, there aren't, it's just
Them just hiking and
them.
stuff. Yeah.
But there's a great moment where they're in a cavern and they're shining light around. It's about a minute long. They're shining across, and you're not really, they're talking about something or other. And it comes back, and a shadow that had been there before is no longer there.
Ugh.
It's all done in shot, and it does little things like that to just
Oh, I hate that.
unsettle you, and
Oh man.
it builds and uh, just
Gore,
becomes a yeah.
gory
It's a
too.
lot.
Mm.
Don't watch it alone.
No, do not watch it alone in the dark. It's kind of like a lot of the different parts of everything that make a good horror movie is. I think it's all there. That's, whew.
Yeah, Yeah.
I'm glad that's on your list. Was it just because you had that kind of that relatability to feeling like you're there, and or that just emotional experience stands out for you and stuck with you, or
Yeah, it's definitely a thing. I remember at least the first two. I remember seeing it in theater because my friend spilled their uh, slushy all over me. They, yeah, yeah, they were happened to be drinking and you know unconscious rip, and then yeah, so I got nice cherry slushy all over me.
good, good.
And the second time I saw it was at a party after everyone else had gone to bed, um, with a gal that I actually ended up dating. So I do credit this movie for that,
Oh, okay.
because we had some conversation about, oh, it's the scariest thing movie you've ever seen, and I'm like, oh, you haven't seen The Descent, so but watching it with her at 3 in the morning in a unfamiliar apartment
Hmm,
was intense.
I bet.
Um,
Wow.
so yeah, it's memorable, and those, it's something that the fear has kept those moments in my memory.
That's fair.
But I think it's a very well made film. It's very intense. It's scary, um, and certainly worth checking out if you have the stomach for it.
Yeah, if you appreciate horror, I think honestly, I think even maybe if you're not a super horror fan, you could still, I think it's a filmmaking experience. It's still worth checking out. Correct me if I'm wrong. I really do legitimately think that it is one of the best horror movies. But is it appreciated as such
I
among?
think so. I think people recognize.
I just don't hear it talked about as much as some of the bigger ones.
Yeah, I think I think it maybe has fallen out of discussion a little bit. Um, but I think it deserves to be remembered. Um, and I think it's one that people will read. Next time there's a new Blu-ray release or something in a few years,
Mhm.
or it comes back out in theaters. I think it will get that reevaluation.
Okay, okay. I hope so. Yeah. Phew. That's scary just talking about it, man.
Yeah. So bringing us to number 25, a different kind of scary
Uh-oh.
is 1996's Fargo.
Ah, yeah, that is a different kind of scary.
Yeah, yeah. We'll say that this movie, part of that line about, why did they're in the car at the end, all these people dead, what, for a little money?
Was it worth it? You killed
Yeah,
your friend, you put him in a wood chipper. Why? And he's just like, don't care.
yeah.
No.
Um,
Yeah, yeah, that is a different kind of scary. And also one of the great film scenes.
yeah,
Really just because
yeah,
that this good-hearted, innocent Frances McDormand's like in her small town, and she's just like, I I don't understand this aspect of human nature, and I'm trying to figure it out, and he can't give me an explanation. And it's weird too because the only real insight into those characters is we saw their interactions with each other, but the guy that does the killing is the one that speaks the least, so we feel like we know him
yeah,
less. Yeah,
yeah. Yeah, we get the most. William H. Macy probably gets the most talking of the
the cast.
various ne'er do wells, but
Well, I guess it's also the same thing because I guess that's the whole movie is like why we kind of get more insight into why he did what he did, but we still can't believe it. Like, really, what made you think that was the way to go?
yeah,
Yeah, it's weird too because I want to say the movie. I feel like I'm talking more than you. I feel like I feel like it's got more of a comedic edge to it,
oh
but
yeah, no, it's definitely a comedy. It's very dark comedy, but
yeah, it has
yeah,
such a much heavier ending despite being kind of a funny movie.
Yeah, it has that heavy ending, but it also at the final shot is her coming home to her husband and sort of cuddling.
Hmm.
Um, it's really sweet. It's like, yeah, despite the horrors out there, I can still find a little peace. But
People can still be good too.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Do you think that a possible theme of the movie is really in the title, that instead of far go, it's far gone, because some people they're just far gone.
yeah. I mean, once you kind of go down that road, you're too far gone.
um, yeah. So we didn't really get into it. That scene, is that just something that sticks with you? That idea? Do you worry
Yeah,
about that sometimes?
that's yeah. That I mean, that's the I don't ever want to be in that situation, which I'm like, yeah, I don't know why I did this terrible thing. I mean, I haven't murdered anyone lately, but and
Good.
when I did, I had good reason. But
Okay. Mhm.
yeah, it really is that sort of you can't comprehend evil sometimes. You can't understand.
And the fact that it's one of those movies, I guess, that evil isn't always ever or necessarily is this outside force, that evil is perfectly capable of coming from the within a person and their motivations and drives and whatnot.
Yeah, yeah. Evil's as much about choices and circumstances as it is about, there's nothing intrinsic. It's just that these guys happen to make these decisions, and it, led to this outcome. And if William H. Macy had just been a better person, maybe none of this would have happened.
Yeah, I know that they kind of paint him as like this sympathetic everyman because he's William H. Macy, but he's pretty terrible in the movie.
Oh yeah, yeah. And that's part of that's his performance, that he always is like justifying, oh well, no, you see, I had to do it. I didn't
Hmm.
but he always had a choice.
Yeah, that maybe he didn't think he did, but he always
Yeah.
did. And do you think that I, I guess that's kind of the dark comedy. Like, it's this, they followed up with that heavy scene, but is there something inherently funny about Steve Buscemi and the wood chipper? You know?
Yeah, I think it's absurd. It's ridiculous. It's like, I mean, because like, what was it supposed to do? You're just gonna have bits of Steve Buscemi everywhere. Like, you
Yeah, is that
haven't,
really the best way to get rid of the body? Like,
yeah, you haven't covered up anything. But
yeah,
that's the ridiculous. It's the things that make sense in the moment.
don't
Uh,
later on.
yeah,
Wow. Uh, yeah.
yeah. All right. So number 24 is 1994's Cemetery Man,
What?
starring Rupert Everett.
What the heck is that? Cemetery Man.
It is a strange Italian horror movie that I found, I believe, in IFC one night, just in the middle of nowhere, and it is maybe the strangest zombie movie I've ever seen.
Huh.
Um, it's not really like a zombie movie like we think of it, because the zombies are more examples of like his guilt, maybe, but
Huh.
it's a very trippy movie.
Huh. Interesting.
But there's a lot of just fantastic imagery. There a lot of meditations on love and death. Uh, it's a strange movie, but it's one that stuck with me. Um,
It sounds like one I might like.
yeah, I think it would definitely be up your alley.
Huh.
It's very strange. It has maybe one of the strangest endings I've ever seen in a film.
Huh.
Um, but even then, it kind of makes sense with everything else that's happened. It's like, oh, of course that's what it was. That's the only thing that makes sense now.
I'm very intrigued by the very little you've said about this movie. You showed me a version of your list a while back. I don't, was this on it originally? I don't
I
think it
don't
was.
know. I don't think it was.
Yeah, I don't think it
It's
was. This one
yeah.
was the first one
I
you said that really surprised me. Like, huh, I don't remember
yeah.
this
This
one.
is one that I rewatched it probably at some point between when the December list and the current list.
Okay.
But it jumped out at me. It stuck with me. It's strange. and romantic and bizarre, but just so memorable. There's so many memorable moments in it.
Hmm. Wow.
And maybe if you do watch it, maybe we'll do a video on it. We can talk about some more because I don't want to say too much.
Yeah,
Uh,
that was just such a surprise to me. It sounds cool. I'm gonna have to see if I can track that one down for sure.
yeah, it's a zombie movie without. It's a
Tradition.
very different take on the zombie genre than for, not even like a very Italian take, although there is some of that like uh,
Argento
yeah,
kind of.
the Fulci gore elements to it.
Mhm.
But yeah, it's a strange movie, but I just delight in it.
Cool. I will have to see if I can watch it.
So number 23, Toy Story 3 from 2010. This
Not
is
number
also on.
23, Jim Carrey.
Oh yeah, shoot, yeah, that must have been on the December list.
Toy Story 2.
Three,
3? Okay, Toy
three,
Story 3,
Toy Story 3.
which I believe was that on Tim's? Was
I
that Dan's?
Dan's. I think it's on Dan's. It might have been on Tim's as
I
well.
think Tim. I think he did say. I'll have to go
Yeah,
back and check.
I
Yeah,
think Tim had one and three. Maybe. Yeah, I can't remember.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
but
That's yeah. I do think Toy Story is going to come up with a lot of people. So
yeah, I think that may be one of the common the Toy Story films. That might be the common.
well, that's probably because Toy Story is just so well done and taps into a lot of things that we all associate with.
Yeah, and so this Toy Story 3 for me has we can talk about the film to death, and you've already talked about it elsewhere.
Yeah.
Two things. One is this was the not quite the first date with my partner Brittany, but I think
Oh.
maybe the first movie we saw together, and the first time that
Oh.
I cried in front of her, and she did
Oh.
not. So,
Vulnerable. Oh wow.
so
So
with
which one?
that,
I know which one he was. I hear a laugh. So which one's more heartless? We know now.
yeah,
We
I
know now.
mean, she she cries in movies. She's cried in movies that I haven't. So maybe she'll talk about those when she does her list. But
Okay.
so that was a big moment. So, but it also the scene that sticks out to me, and everyone talks about the incinerator. It's a scene where Andy's leaving and his mom comes up to his room and is like, oh, he's leaving to go to college, and she's like, oh, you'll always be my little boy.
Oh.
And that's the one that hit me. That
Oh.
got me. I had that exact
Ugh.
conversation with my mom when I was leaving for school, and it sticks with me.
Oh man.
It's yeah, it was very emotional, especially because it does happen. I think maybe right after the incinerator scene. So you're definitely primed for that.
Emotion.
But
Yeah.
yeah, but great film. My favorite of the three,
Okay.
although really the trilogy, or no,
Quartet.
quartet. They're all worth watching. You know,
Yeah.
but
Yeah. I mean I guess it's possible, but is it impossible to like not like a one of the Toy Story movies? Like I feel like it's I don't know. Maybe that's strong to say, but I just feel like you'd be hard pressed to find somebody that doesn't at least kind of like those movies, right?
yeah, I mean, I'm sure somebody somewhere does, but I haven't met that person. I don't know if I want to be friends with somebody that's like, no, I hate Toy Story.
What? Huh.
But I'm
Yeah.
sure they exist. But
Probably.
no, they're lovely movies. So
Yeah.
number 22 is another animated. This is 1992's Porco Rosso,
Oh,
the Miyazaki film.
Miyazaki Magic. Yeah. One of the ones I haven't seen, but you told me
Okay,
about it.
all right,
Is this the
yeah,
one where Michael Keaton's a pig man?
yes, this
Ah,
is yeah. It's the movie about the pig that flies a plane. The first pig movie on this list
yeah.
of
You kind of enjoy the pigs, yeah.
yeah, there's going to be it might be a little bit of a theme, but
Ah, gee, I wonder.
yeah, we'll see. But I don't think this is Miyazaki's best film.
Y-
Um,
Okay. Well, now you got to tell me which one you think his best is.
Probably Spirited Away, maybe Princess Mononoke.
Okay. Sounds about right.
That's conventional wisdom. I think is right. But this is my favorite because I really love the story of redemption. It is uh, sort of a conversation about cowardliness and
Hmm.
war and sticking with your friends. It does, I think, get the balance right between sort of the action elements, but also that laconic, relaxed Miyazaki in the vein of Kiki's Delivery Service or My Neighbor Totoro, where it's sort of let's hang out for an hour and a half with these people in this just beautiful locale. Love the art design. Planes are fantastic. The villains are fun, except for the fascists. But
So wait, this is one of the few Miyazaki movies where there's an antagonist and it's not just circumstances
yeah,
and misunderstandings
yeah,
and whatnot.
yeah. There's sort of the fun antagonist, and then there's like the uh, evil fascists as the real antagonists.
But
Some
but
air
but
pirates that.
but is the true antagonist just learning to overcome your cowardice and be stick with your friends? That the struggle, I guess, is the is that
Well,
is it?
the
Or are you actually saying no? There are straight up bad guys to fight in this
yeah,
movie.
the most important line in the movie is better a pig than a fascist.
Oh, that's pretty
So
good.
it's a great line.
That is a really good line. Yeah.
But yeah, it's I think an underappreciated Miyazaki. If you've never seen a Miyazaki, probably Totoro or Spirited Away.
Mhm.
But I think it's definitely worth worth a watch.
Yeah, that's one of the few I haven't seen. I know you like that one. I feel like that's also one that when I've seen, you know how like they have like the Blu-ray release. I never see Porco Rosso anywhere. It's usually more.
Yeah, yeah, it's yeah. I think it's just kind of one of the gets lost in the shuffle.
Mm.
Unfortunately, but yeah, it's. I mean, I think it's around. You can find it if you look for it. But
Oh yeah, I'm sure I can. No real excuse, but I just hadn't got around to
yeah,
watching it. I got it. I definitely I have to
yeah,
watch that for sure.
yeah. It's a great summer watch. It's a great sort of low key, relaxed, hot afternoon hanging out viewing.
About a pig that flies a plane,
Yeah,
fights some Nazis. Yeah.
yeah. So number 21 is Frailty from 2001. Bill Paxton's directorial debut, although I think he only directed Thunderbirds after this. But another horror movie, another different kind of very, very psychological horror about the dangers of religious indoctrination
Uh-oh.
um, and the way that it sort of poisons generations that follow.
Hmm.
But with just some great performances. And this is one you haven't seen.
Correct. I think I have it on a queue on some streaming service somewhere, and I'm like, okay, I was like, oh, Peter told me about this. I have to another another one I haven't heard of, and I was happy to see a couple of yours that were like, you had a couple more obscure horror movies. I'm like, Frailty, never heard of this one. And if I remember correctly, this is another one that wasn't like a universally beloved movie or anything.
No, I would say this was well reviewed. People liked it, um,
Maybe I'm thinking of another one, but this
but
one's not a big
yeah,
blockbuster
it's
or
definitely
anything.
definitely like the 70% range on Rotten Tomatoes kind of movie.
Okay.
But it's one that uh, sticks with me. The way that it portrays generational trauma is really interesting. The way that because it's about two brothers and their dad's a widower and uh, maybe gets visions, maybe not. It's
Mm.
I don't want to say too much.
Well, I remember I talked to you about this, and I think I asked Brittany actually about the title, like what exactly was frail? What is the frailty factor in here? And is it beliefs? Is it people's minds? Their sanity? Well,
It
is that
is I think
beliefs?
yeah, I think the beliefs could certainly come to mind. I think it's ultimately um, that element of mercy
Hmm.
that becomes a big theme in the film.
Okay.
But that's the frailty of not necessarily being able to do what needs to be done because
Hmm.
there is a little bit of humanity even in the maybe the worst of people. Although
Hmm.
there's a lot of different readings for this, and I
Huh.
maybe we'll discuss it once you've watched it because I don't.
You don't want to tell me too much. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's very dense. There's a lot going on that we can discuss, but
Could you say, watching the movie, that at some point there's a game that's over?
yeah, I'd say that there's a pretty clear game over man
Okay.
moment.
Okay.
Um,
Gotcha.
you know,
Hmm.
not to give too much away, but there definitely
That could factor in some way.
yeah, it's very much that Bill Paxton game over moment.
Because
Where he
when I think of him, I think more. He's very. I don't want to say he's over the top, but he's very energetic, and this seems like a more. It just seems like it would be very intense and a little more restrained, perhaps. I don't know.
yeah, it is a very interesting film. Matthew McConaughey's in it, sort of he's like the bookend where he's the grown up son and um, but Bill Paxton's just it was a I really like the direction, really like the performance. I wish that Paxton had done more, had
Mm,
more, was able to direct other movies or died too soon.
yeah,
Um,
definitely.
but this is a lot of promise here, and uh, definitely worth a view.
Hmm.
Although it is uh, it's a little scary.
Oh, well, hey,
Uh,
yeah, if it's well done, I'll appreciate that.
yeah, I think you'd get a lot out of this one.
Okay, cool. I'll check it out.
So number 20 is 1938's The Adventures of Robin Hood, the
Oh,
Errol Flynn and the
oh,
Olivia de Havilland and Basil Rathbone version of the Robin Hood
yes.
legend.
Which I would say, Peter, is probably, I know that Dan's a big Wizard of Oz fan, but I honestly feel like when it comes to Technicolor, this is like on full display, one of the most colorful movies I've ever seen. Just wow.
Yeah, it's just that it's beautiful. Its colors just saturate through it. It's just this is a fun movie. This is my favorite version of the Robin Hood stories.
Not Kevin Costner?
No, no, Costner. Yeah,
Hmm.
Costner's that was not one of his strong movies.
No.
Um, but yeah, it's fun. It's breezy. It's what I want from Robin Hood. I want him to be fun and swashbuckling and sword fighting and the having the wit as sharp as his rapier uh, kind of movie, and it's just breezy and everyone is great in it. Great cast, very classic Hollywood
Hmm.
kind of version of this story.
Gotcha. It's very pure Robin Hood, wouldn't you say?
Yeah. There's really not a lot to say about it. It's just fun. It's
Yeah, and you probably like it because it's fun, and you're right. It's
yeah,
that it probably just makes you feel. Yeah, I totally get what you mean.
yeah.
It is a great example of that classic story.
Yeah, this is the kind of movie that I if I'm feeling down or need something to pick me up, this is a movie that I'll throw on because it's a good time, it's fun, it's exciting, it's just the whole package.
Sounds good.
So number 19 is 1994's Ed Wood. Speaking of movies about making movies,
Yeah, that's a good one. I only watched it not that long ago, and I should have watched it years ago. It's a really good movie, man.
yeah, it's just great performances all around. I love the aesthetic. Black and white is great. The all the actors are just spot on for the actual people that they're playing.
Hmm.
Um, it understands why Ed Wood was great, why this matters, even though his movies were not good. Um, and it gets to why do people make movies? Why do these matter?
Hmm.
Um, and just yeah, uh, great performances all around. Martin Landau, in particular, I think is a standout. Is Bela
Yeah.
Lugosi. Um,
Boris Karloff is in
or,
shit, basically. Yeah.
and that friendship sort of at the heart of it, but also like the oddball other characters sort of in this acting troupe. Uh,
Well, Bill Murray again.
yeah, Bill Murray shows up again. Um, yeah, it's just a lovely little movie. It's made with a lot of love. It cares about its characters. It understands that they're sort of this uh, sort of found family. Um, it's just fun.
Yeah, I was glad I got to watch it recently because I don't know why I it never really drew me in. I guess because it looked like it was a little more restrained compared to a lot of other Tim Burton movies. But it's one of those ones, you know, you watch it and realize, okay, Tim Burton clearly, you know, had some kind of hero worship for Ed Wood, as a lot of people do, as a creative, you know, trying to be innovative. The regular guy with your bootstraps, just hey, you know, want to try to make a movie, and once again, the magic of filmmaking and trying to tell a story, and even when it's not so good, there's still some fun and magic there in the process. So I think that's it's like a little love letter, I guess, to filmmaking and movies in general, really.
Yeah, it's really about doing the best you can, and maybe it works out, but maybe it doesn't.
Yeah, I kind of and I do like that the movie itself is also done in like that old school Hollywood movie style where you know, it's not quite realistic. It's all you know, a bit stilted, and everybody's kind of hyper positive about things in addition to the black and white. But in contrast, like it's got that Hollywood, you know, sweeping romance, you know, happy go feeling at the end. But in contrast, just real life where it's like, Ed Wood didn't have the best end, so you know.
Yeah, it gives him a happy ending where he
It
did
it
not
it's
get that.
the Tarantino, what do you call it? Revisionist
Yeah,
history. Like, let's, you know what? I'm gonna make a different ending.
yeah, yeah. So number 18 was on Tim's list. This is 1993's Groundhog Day. Bill
Oh,
Murray rears his head once again.
comes out of the hole.
Yeah. So
What can't we say? Yeah.
yeah, I was going to say we can have the exact same conversation you had with Tim,
Maybe
but
that's
slightly different.
you know, it's similar in a way. It's fitting, isn't it?
Yeah. I believe the first episode of my podcast, Meandering Through America. This we did Groundhog Day.
I remember.
Timeless film, great film. Um, Bill Murray's fantastic. Anna McDowell's great. You got Chris Elliott, kind of just a lot of great supporting characters. Um, yeah, it's just a fun movie.
Yeah, feel like I've had this conversation a couple times. It's a good movie. I feel like I totally get why you probably like it because it reason a lot of people like it. I will say, and I brought that up. I mean, it's the only movie I saw in the Elks Theater with you. I
Yeah,
remember years ago, which was very cool. And I, whenever I think about Groundhog Day for me, I think about that particular experience because I haven't seen many movies on actual film like that. So it was I don't know if that's like the first type of movie you'd think to do that, but it was still worth doing for the experience.
yeah. I think it's always worth seeing films on the original film if you can.
Hmm.
Yes, people talk about Lawrence of Arabia, but just seeing movies in theater sometimes, even if you don't think about what it's going to be like, is a different experience.
True, and I guess making it a little different. I mean, thinking back about Lawrence of Arabia and in comparison to something Groundhog Day, do you think that as a movie viewer, that all movies are enhanced by the theater experience, or some of them just require it?
Well, that's a good question. I mean, all movies, or most movies, are made with theaters in mind.
Hmm.
Um, you're shooting with that intent. Now, again, you have made for TV movies and whatever that are.
Hmm.
Um, but I think that you should try to see movies, especially old movies, even if it's something that you don't think, even if it's not some big action spectacle, in the theater, because it can be a different experience. Even something like Groundhog Day, which doesn't have a lot of action, is pretty low key.
Hmm.
Seeing in the theater is a different feeling.
True. So I guess not to gloss over it, is there some particular aspect of Groundhog Day that speaks to Peter individually? Maybe.
Yeah, I mean, I would say in my own life, I love the idea of the self improvement, learning the piano, doing. I know he has
Hmm.
an infinite amount of days to do it, but I think of that in my own life. That even as things may seem similar, even if I feel like I might be going through the motions sometimes, I always try to be learning. I'm always trying to. Okay, so what's the next skill? Okay, I need to get this done, but what am I learning here? How am I improving as a person?
Hmm.
And trying to keep in mind the lessons of this movie that
Hmm.
stuck in this time loop, which sometimes I'm like, yeah, that would be great, and then we spent a year locked in our houses going, oh, okay, I guess we're gonna wake up tomorrow next to the same people and eat the same things and
Hmm. The
just kind of hope
routine.
for, yeah, uh, can't really break the routine for a while. So,
It
but
is really interesting that trope for the movie that it uses is indicative of how people feel
mm,
anyway with their routines and in their lives. You know, when they feel like they're going through the motions. So that makes sense. Do you have once again a favorite scene, a moment, line, anything like that?
um, I mean, I think the whole movie is just great. I would say I actually like the final loop.
Mhm.
Um, when he's just like helping everyone, he's doing all the little things. And a lot of it we don't even see. We don't see Michael giving the tickets to Michael Shannon or whatever. It's just, but I like the way that everything comes together and little black background elements come back around. Um, and then they follow it with the joke where they're playing "I've Got You, Babe" the next morning on the radio anyway. And
So he didn't know right away. Yeah,
yeah,
it's funny.
it's a great sort of end of that loop
Do you,
that plays with that.
do you like that song, or do you hate it as much as he did by the end?
I think it's a fine song. I Cher definitely has better music,
Okay, okay,
but even Sonny and Cher probably, but it's an okay song.
okay.
Very of its time, but yeah, I mean, Cher's her own thing, but
Do you think that well, I guess maybe I'm sure that that was intentional, because I'm not an expert on the song. It's thematically relevant, right? Because because obviously joining and climbing the mountain, so I feel like that's indicative to what he goes through in the movie.
yeah, yeah,
Which is probably one reason why he gets so sick of hearing the encouraging.
yeah. I think if I had to wake up every morning to that,
You'd shoot the thing
yeah,
too.
yeah, I'd eventually,
Oh man.
but yeah.
Good stuff. Well, it works.
Yeah. So number 1952, Singing in the Rain. My
Sing in the
favorite movie musical.
on the rain.
Um, it's
Mhm.
just a jolly, happy movie with some great uh, performances, a lot of great physical comedy. It's a fun
Also,
movie.
also watched it for film fanatics. I think another movie really also about filmmaking, and I didn't realize until I watched it also very much about the transition between silent movies and one with sound and how to utilize that, but also
Yeah.
colorful, good dance sequences. Did you ever see the stage production?
Yes, I have. Yeah, we saw it with Brittany. year or two after we moved here, and I think in York or somewhere.
No,
Yeah.
nice, because I remember that the one theater down here in Harrisburg was going to run it, and I think that they didn't do it because of COVID. I think it's one of those things
Mm.
that got stopped. So I'd thought about it, like, huh, that might be a good one to see. So how does it compare to the movie though?
Movie's better, but it was a good. It was a good. I mean, it's community theater production, so or regional
Uh,
theater maybe.
what about this one makes it stand out as Peter's favorite musical above all other musicals?
That's a good question. I mean, some of it is that this is one that I watched a lot, but that could be said of South Pacific or West Side Story.
Mhm.
I just really like the songs in this a lot. There are a lot of fun, and notably, there most of them are from other period movies. A lot of
Mm,
them are from the sort of shift to talkies.
mhm.
Um, but it's just a energetic, fun movie with great choreography. Yeah, for whatever reason, this is the one that um, sticks with me. I'd probably say that West Side Story, if you had to pick the greatest
Mhm.
movie musicals, maybe the better film, but this is the one that I come back to, that I continue to watch. That um, it's just so fun and happy and enjoyable.
That's fair. And do you also relate because sometimes you find yourself just singing in the rain?
I mean, I do. I remember going to Disney World and getting a picture, wandering around. I think it's in. I think it was. I don't know if it's still there. I think it's in Hollywood Studios,
Hmm. Best
where
part.
they have a umbrella rigged up to a lamp post that you can sort of pose with, like the movie, where you can sort of. So there's a picture of me and my sister doing that in Disney World some time ago, somewhere on the internet.
Nice.
But
That's really nice.
yeah, it's just one of those little things that stands out to me.
Gotcha. Cool.
So number 16 is the other Peter Jackson film on the list, and that is 1992's Dead Alive.
Ah, another one I haven't seen.
Yeah, sort of maybe a companion piece to Cemetery Man, but way more manic.
So you prefer that one to what is it, In Bad Taste or whatever?
Yeah, I like Bad Taste. Bad
Uh-huh.
Taste is fun, but Bad Taste is so low budget. You might enjoy the sheer low budgetness of it, but
Mhm.
Dead Alive is just ridiculous, over the top. It is like they took every idea, threw it at the wall, filmed it, and just did it. It is probably the goriest movie ever made, but it is so over the top gory.
Hmm.
Um, it's sort of that once the action starts, it's the scene from Evil Dead 2 where he's fighting the hand, but as an entire like 40-minute sequence of the film.
Sounds pretty awesome.
Yeah, it's just ridiculous. Super quotable. Um, a lot of just fantastic scenes. The scene in the park with the baby is hilarious.
Hmm.
I don't want to say too much because definitely this is one that you should see.
Yeah, I've been going through and kind of just watching interviews of directors and kind of their influences and stuff like that, just to, be getting an insight. And Peter Jackson's just one of those guys. A lot of the big filmmakers started off doing low budget horror and stuff, and I'm like, wow, like, it's true. And yeah,
Yeah,
I just liked how Peter Jackson, who obviously ended up making these really big epic movies, had love of the old films and started off making stuff like really ridiculous zombie movies. I think that's awesome.
yeah, and I'll say this one, you can you could see his love of King Kong in this one.
Yeah,
There's
he.
the
I didn't realize it until before I did that one podcast with Justin reviewing it again. I did a little bit of research, and I didn't realize until recently he ended up directing King Kong because that was his dream, because
yeah
he grew up, that was like, that made him fall in love with movie making, which is, I just think how Lord of the Rings, like, yeah, I love Lord of the Rings, but King Kong's really what I wanted to make. I thought that was awesome. So do you,
yeah, and
yeah,
that's on display here. So the opening scene is on like a King Kong type island, and yeah,
which,
it's
I didn't see that original one until recently either, and so that
okay.
that was awesome to watch. Really great. Do you think if I watched Dead Alive, would it supplant the Lord of the Rings movies as my favorite Jacksons? Is that possible?
I mean, it certainly did with me.
Hmm.
Again, Lord of the Rings trilogy might have made the list,
I got you.
but it would be high up. That probably would have supplanted the Heavenly Creatures. But Dead Alive is just so much fun. It's so ridiculous. It's dumb, but in all the best ways. It is. It's just a fun movie.
Sounds like a lot of probably creativity on display too.
Yeah, it's they had the budget to do most of what they wanted to do, but the creativity to try to do it anyways.
Hmm. Cool.
So yeah, very very creative and strange.
With Cemetery Man, that's the double.
Yeah, that'd be a good double feature, but they are very weird. Start with Cemetery Man because yeah, but the ending is so weird. But this is a little more straightforward, but
Still wacky.
still very very slapstick wacky.
Okay.
Number 15, 1975's Jaws.
Oh yeah, this one you do love.
Yeah, this is my Spielberg. Um, what can we say that hasn't already been said about Jaws?
To be honest, you probably could. You could give me a little bit of a diatribe about it if you wish, because I remember, I think distinctly, I think it was with you or with somebody. I remember it came up years ago that you mentioned like that it was one of your favorite movies and you love what Spielberg did. And this is another one that, like, I knew about for years, but I probably only watched it like 5 or 6 years ago, something like that. Like I didn't grow up with it because I just never was around it. But it's one of those movies. I like when you can watch an older film that has a reputation and then it actually holds up. You're like,
Yeah,
wow, I get it. Like this is a such a well done use of the monster and the thriller and like really like Hitchcockian suspense. Regarding like not being able to see the shark, and also the classic, we are having all these production issues. We want to use the shark more because that's our big effect piece. But ironically, not being able to do it, which of course has been said, is kind of what makes it work so well. Is sort of the unknown. And then when you do see the shark, it's even scarier because, oh, it's there and it's big and almost gets the guy, like, ah. It's just, and it's a genuinely scary movie because it's so simple, but it's like made people, afraid of sharks. And
yeah.
yeah, man, I mean, you could tell me but yeah, man, performances it was good. Though I do agree with what people say. I do think the mayor is the true villain of the movie.
Oh yeah, yeah. Sharks just there. Sharks hungry.
He's just
Sharks.
eating.
Yeah,
Although it's Jaws, we find out later, has some motivational issues, because if he was just hungry, he'd eat a person or two and then would be fine. I know he's a big shark, but he seems bent on attacking people, I think, more than just for food. Is Jaws evil? Because we see in other films there's almost a presence as the series goes
to
on,
be
right?
fair, the other movies, it's the shark's family that's, the original shark is dead. He gets blown up.
So does it get blown up in every movie? Look, Peter, I've only seen Jaws and Jaws 4. Okay.
Okay,
So
okay.
I know both sides of this.
The second one, he's electrocuted. He bites a power cable.
Okay.
Third one, he has a grenade explode. So he ate a guy that had a grenade. 3 is pretty bad.
Oh my.
But 4 is probably the worst. In 4, he gets stabbed and explodes for reasons.
But I remember in 4 they make it seem like Jaws has been around and has been going after like this family for a while. Like it's almost he's got a grudge. But if it's not
Yeah.
the same shark, then is that a lie? Is it a
Well, I mean, the sharks pretty clearly die in each of the previous films, so
the
presumably
more
it's the shark's family that's going after Chief Brody's family.
so they're mad. They're
Yeah,
upset.
yeah.
But the but but they have no right to be mad. They were the ones eating naked women on the beach. Like
But they were just hungry, and that was who was there. And then people started trying to kill them.
I see. I see. So
Yeah,
really, Jaws and his family, they're the victims here, in a sense.
yeah, yeah. The sharks. Yeah, they were just doing what sharks do. It's people didn't belong in
Be just
you don't
hanging
belong
out
in
in
the
the
ocean.
ocean. Okay,
Yeah,
that's fair. Um, yeah. You probably like it for filmmaking, but tell me about watch. Is there something about it that is like that sticks with me once again?
yeah. I mean, I think it's a movie that I loved when I was a kid because it's shark and great. John Williams score is
No.
fantastic. Yeah, it's a great movie. It's exciting. It finds the right amount of tension. I remember seeing it in the theater with my dad and him jumping out of his seat when the shark pops up when
Ah,
Brody's tossing up a chum. Um, it's just a very efficiently made movie. It's not really any wasted time or scenes. It's great. It builds the tension. It's funny. The characters feel like people. Singing on the boat and just hanging out. Quint's just a great, interesting character. That monologue.
mhm.
Uh, yeah, there's just so much to recommend this movie. And I will say another family connection, another family story here. My uncle saw this when he must have been pretty young, maybe 4 or 5, and refused for an entire year to take a bath because he was afraid of the shark. So had to be bodily dragged in by my grandmother to take a bath because he was terrified there might be a shark in the bath water.
I
Um,
think that says something to the frightening nature of
yeah,
the movie. Wow, wow.
yeah. So yeah, this is definitely a family favorite.
I thought you were gonna say
Um,
a great family film.
yeah,
Well, I guess Jaws and Freddy Krueger both like to hang out in the bathtubs.
yeah, yeah. There's definitely connection there.
It seems like it, yeah.
All right, so number 14 is In Bruges from 2008.
Ah,
Um,
yes. Ooh.
with Colin Farrell and Ralph Fiennes
D-
and um, Brendan Gleeson.
Pretty much it, yeah.
Yeah, it's another simple film, a sort of crime comedy.
Yeah.
Comedy.
Dramedy, yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, it sort of defies.
Genre labeling, doesn't it? Oh,
Yeah, in which these two hitmen are sent to the tourist town of Bruges after the hit goes wrong,
mhm.
and end up getting into some wacky misadventures while they're sort of touristing around, but their former employers kind of
Angry.
plotting to get rid of them. Yeah.
I do have a question about this movie. Based on your experience, when you've been angry, when you were banging on something, did Brittany ever tell you to calm down because it's just an inanimate object, and you told her that she was the inanimate object? Did you ever use that comeback?
I've never used that comeback.
Okay.
Um, so, but that
It's a
is a
pretty good one.
yeah, it's a great line.
Oh man. Um, I watched this one again. I think also was a Film Fanatics pick for some reason, and I think that's when I first watched it. I liked it. I think it's another one I'd have to go back and watch because I feel like on paper that's one that I should like more than I do. Uh,
Yeah, it's a very acquired taste. I didn't really love it. I think probably the second or third time I saw it.
mm,
Took a few viewings to kind of get the rhythms down, and it's pretty high in my list.
yeah, yeah.
But
It grew on you, I guess.
yeah, it grew on me. The mood of the film is just sort of strange and fantastic, and the idea that they're sort of trapped in this tourist town, um, and the idea of it's almost sort of purgatory for
Mhm.
Colin Farrell's character, that this is the worst thing that he can imagine, is being stuck in Bruges.
Which is funny because it's not that bad, but it's boring. It's kind of like the mundanity of it is almost like waiting for judgment in a way, like because you're stuck in between places you would rather want to be.
Yeah, there's a very religious element to this, and sort of philosophical, in much the same way that Groundhog Day also does, but it's a little more.
Contemplative, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it's more direct, and um, yeah, I really just love the feel of this movie, and it's funny and strange, and has some of that, especially in the later parts, that dreamlike quality that just appeals to me.
Hmm. Okay. Yeah, that's an interesting choice. I definitely one I need to watch again.
Yeah, it's definitely not one that I, maybe even might not have been in a previous version of the list, but at some point I'm like, yeah, no, this, uh, something about it, it sticks with me. It appeals to me, the
Well,
strangeness of it.
I also feel like the dialogue in that movie is kind of like the big strength of it. You know, the performances. There's some good, very heavy conversation piece movie within itself. Of the three actors, who do you think who's your favorite performer of the three?
Oh, I mean, they're all great. Probably Colin Farrell, though.
Oh,
Uh,
okay.
yeah, it's tough. But I think Colin Farrell is the one that, with this, and with all the, both Brendan Gleeson and Ralph Fiennes have some great performances, but
Hmm.
Colin Farrell, yeah, he's kind of the, maybe identify with him the most, but
Okay, makes sense.
yeah,
Sort of the everyman, kind of out of his depth and a little bit
yeah,
more
yeah,
relatable. Yeah.
yeah, maybe just not quite wanting to be wherever here is right now, but
Mhm.
not really sure where else to. Yeah, but
Beats the.
something about that I find relatable, I guess.
Okay, that's fair.
So number 13, also on Tim's list, Ghostbusters from 1984.
I'm gonna say Bill Murray's your favorite actor. It's starting to get a little bit of a pattern here.
Yeah, you probably could
Make that argument.
make that argument. Yeah, he's definitely, his role wit appeals to me. I mean, it's far more to this movie than just Bill Murray, but
Sure, sure. But like I was like that's the recurring thing there that I noticed. Ghostbusters. I mean, what you want to know something? I'll tell you something about Ghostbusters, and I don't know if I can explain it, but I feel like Ghostbusters is another one of those just very popular movies. It's like a staple of American pop culture, maybe just worldly. Magic in a bottle, very unique, funny, etc. And obviously, it's a big thing in like geek culture. You know, a lot of movie buffs. It's like you see people cosplaying as Ghostbusters, and I think Harrisburg even has our own Ghostbusters crew. Yeah, it's Ghostbusters. And even though I think it's a very good movie and I appreciate it, I've always felt a little bad that it's never been one that I've loved as literally like
hmm,
pretty much almost everybody else that I know, I feel like likes Ghostbusters more than I do. And not that I and I it's not like I hate it. I totally get people thinking it's a great movie, but I've never quite loved it. And I've always felt like I was missing out, like just a little bit like everyone else. So I don't know what's up with that. I
Yeah, I
don't
don't know. I mean, there's sometimes things just don't appeal to you in the same way they appeal to other people.
I know. And like I said, I totally would watch it, and I think it's great. It's funny. It's just I always felt like I was missing a little something. So your job now is to tell me what that is. Why does Peter really like it?
Oh, I
Try to
mean,
be different.
yeah, I mean, it's a comedy classic. The ghosts are great. The effects are great. Cast has great chemistry. And I think part of it is that relatability that you can see yourselves
Mm.
as a Ghostbuster. To the degree that people that cosplay as Ghostbusters usually are going as themselves as a Ghostbuster.
Like they just joined the Ghostbusters.
Yeah,
Not, yeah, that's true.
your patch is going to be your last name. I will be Brian, or you know, I'm not going to go as Venkman. I'm going to go as Brian. It's my
Do you like the fact in your case you could because you're Peter Bryan, so yeah, it works. But the I do kind of like the fact that I guess that's one of the charms of the movie is that you've got the supernatural element. They're dealing with these big threats, right, of ghosts, but they just make themselves, basically exterminators. They're Ghostbusters. Yeah, got a ghost problem. We've got our our spray gun, but it's the quantum pack. It's I don't know. It's almost there. It's that clash of the big threat, but downplayed by how mundane it almost is for them because it's their job.
Yeah, I mean there is a life lesson within this of no matter how big the job, no matter what the threat is, figure out how to break it down into pieces that you can deal with.
Hmm.
Figure out how to approach it like you would any other problem. It doesn't matter what the existential threat is. Figure out, find some friends, and figure out how to put it together.
Hmm. I like that.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, it's
Good
just a
message.
great movie. Very
Yeah.
memorable. Yeah, I've loved it since I was a kid. It stuck with me. Um, I really like the 2016 as well. That might have.
Yeah. You are a little more on the positive end than a lot of people. Actually, no, that's a good discussion point. And I know we may have talked about it before, especially closer to when the movie was released, but that's actually also something that surprised me. And I know I've mentioned this before, but it still surprises me to this day is why Ghostbusters? Like, because I thought that when it came to the reaction, it's like I underestimated how not only how beloved Ghostbusters was, but unfortunately how
Mhm.
unaccepting and mean so much of the fan base was, just judging by the trailer. And I know that there's a lot of resistance to established things getting remakes, and there's backlash to it. But like with Ghostbusters, it was probably the nastiest, and I was just like, whatever, guys. You still have your classic movie. Who care? Like, could do you have as a bigger Ghostbusters fan than me? Is it just the passion? Do you have any insight into why Ghostbusters got such resistance? Like,
Sure, I will. I wrote an entire article about
oh,
this
okay, okay.
subject, published in a peer reviewed, one of the top peer reviewed journals in the country.
Oh, wow. Please
Turns
do.
out it's not actually the fandom that resisted this, it was outside elements. The fans were very supportive of the Paul Feig version. Now, there were people that, longtime fans that disagreed with it.
Okay.
But if you look at, again, the people in Harrisburg that dress up or the people on Reddit,
Yeah.
were generally pretty supportive of the reboot, to the point of asking about a lot of the production design elements,
Hmm.
the costumes, how are they going to change it? Oh, what's the new proton packs going to look like?
Mhm.
But there were bad actors that saw this as a useful way to get those clicks on YouTube, and some people, I think, have legitimate complaints about the film,
Mhm.
um, that have their reasons for not watching it, and that's their business. But there, a lot of the response was from people that didn't care about Ghostbusters in 2014, but as soon as it was announced, decided that this is the Gamergate had sort of run its course. So this is where we're gonna have our fight. But
Okay.
yeah,
So you think it was really more about just generating a buzz to get ad revenue online and
yeah.
stuff like that?
I think I agree that there are people that don't like it. I'm sure there are people that like the 2016 one, but not the 84 one. But by and large, most fans were like, "Yeah, okay, that's cool. It's
Hmm.
here. It's you know,
Huh.
yeah." So,
Interesting.
but
Maybe.
yeah, as maybe the foremost expert on this, it's complicated and dumb, but
uh, well, I'll tell you what. I thought the 2016 one was okay.
yeah,
I thought it was fine, and once again, uh, not nowhere near as good as the first one. I think most people would probably agree with that, but yeah, I never got the hate, and it just sounds like it was
yeah.
overblown from a very vocal minority that may not have even really believed what their stance they purporting
Yeah,
was
yeah,
anyway.
because again, most of the response was from long before the movie came out.
Gotcha.
Had
Yeah, like
no,
'cause it was all
yeah,
that hate well before the movie came out, so it wasn't
yeah,
criticism. Yeah.
yeah. And the fact that they targeted Leslie Jones specifically over the other actresses definitely, probably
Right.
tells us something about the kind of people they are. But
Yeah, probably.
so on a brighter note, my number
Yeah.
12 is Doctor Strangelove from 1964.
Mein Führer. Oh, you gotta say the whole title, Peter.
Okay, Doctor Strangelove, or How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Love the Bomb.
Okay, there we go. Now I know what movie you're talking
Yeah, sorry, I
about.
know that there's a lot of Doctor Strangeloves from 1964, but
Yeah, there are.
yeah, the Kubrick Doctor Strangelove.
Yeah, that's a good movie. I want to wager a guess here, and it has something to do with the very dark sense of humor.
Oh yeah, I mean, as you've noticed, I do enjoy dark comedy to some extent. I think I inherited some of that. My mom has occasionally a dark sense of humor. I
Hmm.
think I inherited that from her. But uh, yeah, this is just a great paranoid Cold War movie that ends the only way it could have, with complete destruction of the world. But hey, don't worry, we've got bunkers to hide the people, hide our top men in.
And nobody else.
Yeah,
Yeah. Do you think it's possible that maybe newer viewers of the movie could misinterpret the message as just kind of maybe a just absurdist, deeply cynical, rather than being satire of the time of like, this is how ridiculous the situation is? Is
yeah. I mean, I think that it does read differently,
now
and
maybe?
especially now. I mean, um, because I remember when the Berlin Wall came down. I remember vague senses of sort of that,
Hmm.
um, the lingering fear of a nuclear war, and how real that something like this might have seemed. Um, but I don't think that viewers today, the kids today, have had it too good. They haven't had to live under a threat of Soviet destruction. But um, so maybe I'm the last generation that kind of experiences at least something like they were. But I'm sure my mom had a different experience as well watching this movie, and or things like this. The sort of laughing in the face of oblivion
Hmm.
was a lot more real then than just sort of a wacky wacky Cold War comedy that maybe it is seen as today.
Yeah, that's true. I think it has a different view probably for people now, as just kind of dark and quirky. But it's actually kind of amazing that it was made back when it was. It seems very daring, actually.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Points for Kubrick for using his platform to do what he wanted to. So
Well, that's kind of what he did, wasn't it?
yeah, yeah, but yeah, that's not a movie that would get made today.
No.
Um, not a movie you really could make. You couldn't. I don't know if you could quite do that today. The tone is very,
It's very odd.
yeah, yeah. It's a very odd kind of movie. It's definitely a piece of that time, but I think it's still it's a good time capsule for where things were back then.
And also even for the time, still very unique though.
Yeah, yeah, um, yeah. So number 11. Speaking of films that I refuse to let other people ruin, Monty Python and the Holy Grail from 1975.
Oh, well, what do you mean by that?
I mean, I'm just saying that occasionally I play D&D with people, and some of them like to quote the movie to death.
Some of them,
Yeah,
everybody probably.
yeah. I
But
mean,
but
it's.
but isn't that almost inherent to the form itself? Like that is one of the most quotable movies. That's why it is
Oh,
quoted
I
by
agree.
everybody.
Yeah, and it's sort of a rite of passage of finding your people and realizing, oh, someone else has seen this strange British movie about these knights. And I watched it, I think, last year for the first time in a long time, and it's just such a well constructed, hilarious movie. Uh, it still makes me laugh, even though I know all the jokes.
Hmm.
I've heard the jokes 1,000 times, but the delivery, the interactions, these little elements of production design are so good
Hmm.
throughout that it's just yeah, it don't nobody can ruin this movie for me.
Okay. No, I think Monty Python is a very the Quest for the Holy Grail. It's a quite a good movie, and I it's another one I liked, and but I don't think I realized, I might have told you recently, that I didn't realize how much of an influence it kind of had on just surreal meta comedy. Like even the opening, while we're almost like we're watching a movie, but they try to act like it's just a continual thing. They can go back and adjust, like, oh, like we're going to continually mess with the credits, and okay, we sacked the people that did this. No, we sacked the people that sacked the people that did this. It's like trying to make it seem like you're not watching something that's previously been recorded, but it's almost trying to create like a live show, and they're poking fun at the medium constantly, uh, and just thinking about that kind of self-referential humor. It pops up a lot in a lot of YouTube, reviewers use those skits, and that kind of persona is just that sort of stuff. I was like that. I trace that back to Monty Python. That's sort of dry, cheeky. It's very British humor. It's strange, but it's very influential. You know.
Yeah, I think it's percolated down into culture in ways that it's just part of what we do now.
Hmm.
Um, Even something like Deadpool has those sort of non sequitur
Yeah.
moments. Um, but yeah, it or the fourth wall breaks, or yeah,
Yeah,
it's.
it's just that's funny, but it's so common now, whereas back then people might have watched it and be like, "What? This is odd."
Yeah, and I think that it's such rapid fire of those jokes that there's still nothing quite like it. That
Hmm.
we can see the pale imitations, but it's still the real deal. Still sort of the gold standard. It still has that weight to it.
Well, if so, people does that mean people can quote this a lot and it doesn't annoy you because you like the movie so much?
Oh, it still annoys me, but I can still go back and watch the movie and enjoy it in a way that Office Space, which I think is a great movie, but
Uh,
Office Space got quoted to death for me. Um,
huh.
yeah,
Interesting.
yeah, people killed it
Well,
by asking me to come in on Saturday.
do you
Um,
have a do you have a favorite quote that you would get least tired of hearing being a constant joke in a
well,
game?
I'd say my favorite. I don't have a favorite quote necessarily. My
Hmm.
favorite scene is when Lancelot attacks the wedding because it's just so absurd. And it's actually the first scene that I ever saw from it because I turned my friend Matt and I were going to watch it on a sleepover. Um, this is back in the good old days when Comedy Central would run the movies like twice in a row.
Mm.
And we got up and turned it on, and it was the Lancelot. There's the open field. Lancelot's running. Guards are standing there, and that to me is the best joke in the movie of that uh, massacre at the wedding that stops and then starts again, and it's just the music playing. Uh, it's just so absurd and wonderful, and that's the joke that no one can take away from me because it is
It's not
uh,
a quote exactly.
no, it's just perfectly visual and hilarious.
Very good. Well, you know what this means, Peter, is we're about to touch on the top 10 of Peter.
Yeah, we're entering the top 10. So let's start with number 10. I think that's the logical number to begin with,
Pretty
and that
standard,
is
yeah.
from 1940, Dumbo by
Oh.
I think only proper Disney on the top 50.
Hmm.
So this is important film for me. It's my mom's favorite. She has a lot of fond memories of watching this with my grandfather.
Hmm.
Um, this is one that it's short, it's easy to watch. Um, there's not a lot to it. There's not a lot of plot,
Simple,
um,
yeah.
but it sticks with me. Dumbo's adorable. There's all these strange and memorable scenes, like the pink elephants most famously, but
Mhm.
um, it is a simple little movie that I think it's my favorite Disney. It has that personal place in my heart. I can uh, watch it and enjoy it. It just does. It's a great Disney movie.
Yeah, I mean, I watched that not too long ago, going through Dan over at his channel once again, going through all the Disney movies, and I've been watching the most of the big animated ones, of course, and Dumbo, like another one of those early Disneys that I just think really holds up. It's like you said, so simple, but just so well done, getting the emotional connection to those characters with how adorable they are, and wonderful animation but also it and like obviously you feel very much in peril for Dumbo. You want to see him reunited with his mom. It's very sad. It's something I think everyone can relate to. And no, I think it's very good. It's I could definitely see that. Uh, did you watch the Tim Burton one?
Yeah, yes. I am probably the biggest fan of the Tim Burton one. I thought it
Oh.
was. I really liked it. I really liked what we did with it. I thought it was a great adaptation. I liked the circus atmosphere. They did great work with the pink elephant sequence where it was different enough. I liked the additions to it. I liked Colin Farrell's character was an interesting take on that of the one-armed horse rider.
Mhm.
Um, Michael Keaton's just an amazing villain. Um, but essentially playing Walt Disney in a Disney movie.
Evil Disney. Oh yeah,
Yeah,
well,
evil
yeah.
Disney. But yeah, I did really like that. Yeah, I really like the Tim Burton Dumbo quite a bit. I think it's an underrated film.
Yeah, I actually thought it was pretty good too. I was surprised. I didn't mind it. And I guess not to dwell on it too much, but it is one of your personal favorites. But how do you feel about the our buddies, the Crows?
Well, you know,
It was
um,
1940.
it's 1940. It's not the most racist thing that Disney ever did, but
No.
it's up there. It is problematic, but outside of the context of when this was made and all of that, it's not too bad. Um, but yeah, that's Disney has a not great track record that they've spent a lot of time trying to uh,
Very.
yeah.
Well, look, if it makes you feel any better, I really do think that one is not one of the most blatant. I remember even talking about it with Dan, and honestly thinking, uh, the as characters, I thought they were I thought they served a good purpose in the movie for the story. I thought they were helping Dumbo, and they kind of come off as almost villainous, but they're sort of redeemed by the end. Like
Yeah.
I didn't pick up the fact that they were supposed to be stereotypical for the sake of it, sort of thing. You know?
Yes. No, I didn't either, and that's part of just Disney tended to shy away from that. Even their propaganda stuff in World War II is not
Mm,
as racist as Warner Brothers and Fleischer was doing, but
mhm.
I think it's problematic. But I think it's part of the movie. I would never say just like delete the crows.
Well, you can't from the without
No,
taking out a big chunk of the story.
yeah.
Yeah.
Um, but I think it's maybe it
Yeah.
deserves a warning there, some historical context, but
Yeah.
um,
Certainly.
certainly a point for discussion. But um, I just Dumbo is just my favorite Disney movie, so maybe I'm not the best judge of that, but
No, but that's fair though. That's fair. I think you make a good point. That's a good choice though.
yeah. So number 9 is from 1968, Night of the Living Dead.
Oh, who's coming to get her?
Well, they're coming to
Yeah,
get you,
they are
bud.
coming to get her.
This is probably the movie that I've seen more than any other movie. I
Mm,
watch it pretty much anytime I see it on. I own 2 or 3 versions of it, all of the same basic movie. They're just different releases with different some commentaries or trailers or whatnot.
hmm.
Um, this is just a fantastic movie because every time I watch it, I hope that things are going to go different. I hope
Oh,
maybe this time they
they'll learn.
stay upstairs, or maybe this time they're not going to go for the pumps, or maybe this time uh, the black guy is going to make it out alive, but it never quite.
Quite pans out that way.
No, but that's a testament, I think, to the skill with which the movie was made. That I can watch it and get engaged and engage with the characters who really don't have a lot of development. They're just kind of there and together, but it's just a fantastic little movie that I find endlessly rewatchable.
It's another one of those movies, I guess kind of like Alien or something, where it's you don't have a lot of backstory for everyone, but you get to learn a lot about them by what they do and how they interact with each other. I think that sells a lot. And
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, I think you talked about that with The Thing, which
yeah.
is probably on my short list. Didn't quite make the list, but
Hmm.
um, yeah, I think it's an important um, to be able to do that, and it succeeds here, and in lesser hands, maybe it wouldn't have.
No, really, really good movie. I totally relate to that choice. Is there something about this one that speaks to you more than Romero's other zombie films, which some people have said are better?
I
Dawn
mean,
usually.
yeah, I mean, Dawn is probably the better movie. Um, Dawn is more assured. The commentary is more direct, but the ending of this one, the bleakness, the sort of
Feels like something that would happen.
yeah, it feels real. And the famous story about this is that um, they were delivering the reels to the film studio when they found out that Martin Luther King had been shot.
Hmm.
So it sort of fits within everything else happening in the 60s. And um, yeah, it's just it's tough to watch. But
It's
I just always get caught up in it in a way that, maybe this time it'll go, maybe this time.
yeah. Is that just because you engage so much with the characters and you really want them to get better? It's
Yeah.
your hope against the circumstances, I guess.
Yeah, I think that's it. I think it's just the urgency with which the movie flows. There's not a lot of downtime.
Mm-hmm.
They're
Tight
always,
again.
hammering up boards or doing this or that or talking or planning. Um, yeah, it just moves, and it keeps has an energy to it that just really makes it watchable.
An energy and a challenging movie to watch. And I guess you said like a microcosm of a lot of what was going on, racial tensions in the 60s, of course. But, you know, I wonder if in some small part, not because of such a big influence it had on zombie movies, another recurring theme I've noticed in your list, um, is, just kind of the the level in which things have influenced. I think back about what you said about there's so much energy and okay, maybe we can do this different next time I watch it, boarding things up, what move, go upstairs, stay up there. It's like Nazi zombies. What strategy can we use? Maybe we'll make it out of it.
Yeah, yeah, it's and it does beg it's always this is the film that starts the question. Okay, well, if there's a zombie apocalypse, what do you do? Where do you go?
Hmm.
That late night. I
Your
had that with
plan.
my college roommate. We had a plan. If we need, we're gonna run down to Menards and get this and that, and board up on the second floor so we can, like board up the stairs a little bit, and make sure we have an escape route. We can go out the window here.
Basically,
It,
don't do what they did in this
yeah,
movie.
yeah. Learn a lesson and be prepared. I mean, it's good to be prepared for disasters in general, but
Hmm.
you know, it's good to have some ideas. So yeah, this sticks with me.
Very cool. Great pick.
Yeah. Number eight is going to be a familiar one, Brazil from 1985. I think we've spent a while discussing this.
Yeah, we probably talked about that one for like a good hour or something.
Yeah.
Once again, I'll put that one down below as well in the link below. But yeah, we did talk about that one, so you could hear more of Peter's thoughts there as well as mine. But just for the sake of here, um, I'm noticing some similarities with things that have popped up. But is there something like once again the personal thing? Is it the connection to the main character or something
Yeah.
about
I
the
mean,
idea?
I can definitely relate to the wanting to have that escape, wanting to have, but I've never had, lived in a dystopian society quite like this one. But I appreciate the wanting to have the escape, wanting to get out. Lowry, I can relate to him. I feel for him of being a cog in the machine sometimes, of just being, sort of the guy that stamps the papers because that's what I do.
Hmm.
Even as a professor, even teaching, sometimes I'm like, yep, let's, okay, you turned it in, okay, here's your B, here's your B, let's,
It's your deadline to meet some of the
yeah,
minutia that might get old.
yeah, but it and anytime, we've all had to deal with bureaucracy at some point, but
Hmm.
it yeah, it's a life that I don't know that I'd want to have, but I fear that someday I might have.
Oh no, a
But
future that may be possible in some way.
yeah, it just feels almost possible, and that
But
my only escape would be my own imagination.
where you get to be a fantasy hero and fight weird giants and stuff.
That's my
Yeah,
hope, is that I could find that escape regardless.
whether
But
whether or not it's true or not, you'll find some way of doing that.
yeah, I'll pick my fights, but yeah, but
Well, imagination's important, but sometimes it can inform what you have to deal with in everyday life, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So number seven, The Road Warrior, 1981.
Otherwise known as Mad Max 2, The Road
Yeah,
Warrior. Yeah.
yeah, depending on what territory or country you're in. But this is the second Mad Max film. Um,
some would
Yeah.
say maybe the purest Mad Max film.
Yeah,
You
it
know, in
is
some ways.
the purest for what you would think of as a Mad Max film.
Hmm.
This pretty much single-handedly sets the tone for like the post-apocalypse for about 20 years thereafter.
With movies, yeah,
Yeah, with the low budget side of the post-apocalypse.
the spikes and the mohawks and the low tech, the flame, the deserts, yeah,
Yeah, yeah, very punk, very um, lived in. It's just
gritty.
yeah, it's gritty. Um, it has a very, we've mentioned westerns before. It does have constructed very much like a western, where
Hmm.
Max rolls into town and the townsfolk want him to defend them, but he's won't. But then he does, and but the thing that stands out to me, especially for this film, is the opening and closing narrations, and oftentimes narration is not great in movies, but
Hmm.
here it forms sort of the um, it's bookends for the story because
Yeah,
it's a story about him being told, and it does go a ways to explain some of the weirdness in the movie, like why do the settlers all have these pristine white robes? Well, because there's the story.
yeah. It's the it's about the embellishment. Like I'm letting you know this is the legend of Mad Max, but
Yeah,
it's something the narrator is telling you. It you are hearing a story that may have some inaccuracies, but do they matter? You know.
yeah, yeah. We're given a story told by someone else about this guy that's tangentially connected to the first one, but
Yeah,
is also its own thing, and it is.
yeah. Mad Max is a weird series.
It is.
Every movie is very different, and yet they're still somehow very Mad Max in their own ways.
Yeah, yeah, they all are clearly part of the same world, but not
What
quite.
what direction are we gonna go this time? And
Yeah.
yeah, I think Mad Max 2 and maybe another film uh, are probably the purest of what I think people think of Mad Max generally. But yeah, this one was good. I will admit it's not my favorite.
Hmm.
I'll be honest with you. I've always been very much in the camp of one. I feel like one.
Okay.
I feel like one gets a little bit overshadowed by this one because
Yeah.
of
Well,
how
one is the least flashy, but it's. I
I
really like one.
it's very very gritty.
Mhm.
I guess the darkest of them. Very
Yeah.
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 But it's not quite the post-apocalypse yet. It's like on the beginnings of. It's more of a desert western cop movie. But yeah, the with the second one, it's like it's that bombastic, fantastical, like these giant, giant stunts, these giant vehicles. You got the super villains, like Lord Humongous. I mean, that's his name. So it's like, it's what you get.
Yeah. 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 I think it's a good point about the first one that it is the apocalypse is still in progress,
Hmm.
which they touch on. That's part of the opening narrations. It's not the nuclear apocalypse that already happened. It's that the leaders talked and couldn't figure out how to solve the oil. It's about the oil. It's
it's it's more once a very plausible thing. We
yeah,
we we never figured out how to deal with running out of this resource we're so focused on, and now people are just society breaks down based on that, and it's like
yeah,
it's a very it comes from a very believable source.
yeah, yeah. There's a groundedness to the Mad Max film. Even Thunderdome, which is it's probably the most maybe the most over the top, but even Thunderdome has sort of a grounded reality that's often lost in the post-apocalyptic genre. But
Mhm.
yeah,
Definitely.
Warrior is the purest, perhaps, Mad Max film, and I do recommend it on multiple levels.
Fair.
Which brings me to number 6 from 1995,
All right.
Babe,
Oh,
the
whoa.
little movie about the pig.
Not your number one anymore. You used to tell me that was your favorite. That was this is a plot twist, people. I was not
Yeah.
expecting to hear about this one
Well,
till
I
later.
wanted to change it up a little, shuffle the
Hey,
list a
no,
little bit.
well, you better have changed it based on how you actually felt, not just trying to
Oh
be
yes, no,
contrarian, you know.
I no, I there, I can justify everything on my list. Now,
Okay.
I will
Okay.
say I think Babe is a perfect movie.
Okay.
I think that you could not take anything away from it. You could not add anything to it. It is a wonderful, lush, beautiful little movie. Though there are 5 movies that I think um, are above it, in part because they take more risks. They have some more ambitions, and obviously we'll talk about this as a later date. But
And that's more important to you, I guess, than although I don't know. I think Babe takes risks
I think it does. Yeah,
in itself. Sure.
yeah. But it's just a wonderful little movie. It's very well made. This is
Hmm.
one that we talked about seeing. This is one that you should see in the theater if you can. Um, that it comes around every once in a while in the anniversaries and stuff. Sometimes family events will do it.
Hmm.
Um, but it is one, the colors, the production design really pop on a theater screen in a way that even a good home television can't quite pull off. There is um, there's something magical to it that I love the movie. I've seen it a dozen times, but see it in the theater if you can.
Yeah, that's another one that I think you're right. There's definitely some magic on display of how well done it is as a film. And if I remember correctly, it's mostly using live animals, right?
Yeah, there's a little bit of CG, but almost all of it is live. They're a lot of the usual tricks of like give a dog peanut butter and whatever.
Make its jaws move and then dub
Yeah,
over it.
but yeah, the it's almost all practical effects. A little bit of CG here and there, a few shots, I think.
Hmm.
Um, but it is, they don't make movies like that too much anymore. Nowadays, it would be animated or it would be um, mostly CG. But it is, from a visual effects standpoint, very well done. Animals, what they're doing seems like they're talking. You know,
Feels like
it,
people.
yeah, it doesn't seem like they overdubbed an animal with flapping its jaws. It actually seems like, however they did all of their tricks, feels like a lived-in specific world. But
It's very cool. And I feel like there's probably something about the story that speaks to you to like it so much, right?
yeah, I mean, I think uh, we've all had that moment in which we felt out of place and um, maybe doubted ourselves because of who we are or
Mm.
something about our nature, but found a calling for ourselves, found a something that worked for us. I mean, that for me was teaching. Is I was never a great student,
Mhm.
um, but I love to learn, and that's became my calling in life. I don't know that I would have planned on being a teacher if I had to have chosen, but it's where I've ended up, and it's what I enjoy doing, and I like to think I'm good at it. Um, but I love this movie because it understands the need for kindness and empathy, even from people that may not entirely deserve it.
Hmm.
Um, it finds beauty in that and forgiveness, and um, it's just a lovely little movie um, that I come back to often.
Wow. Well, I'll tell you, this was a big surprise because this will be the last one we're talking about. And I was really thinking that this one would be number one because, like, I already knew. So, hey, that was a twist in and of itself.
Yeah, I'll say my number one is different than it was a few years ago.
Mhm.
But it shouldn't be too big of a surprise. But we'll see.
Well, I
We'll
got
have to wait.
there's definitely one or two movies I'm expecting to hear when we do the big video, but I will say in regards to Babe though, that was a movie that I saw as a young kid, and I did not appreciate it as much. I was like, this is a weird movie. I don't really like it. I don't really get it. This is a dumb movie with animals. I would have been like, 6 or 7 or something. It didn't really excite me. I might have thought it was lame or something. But, you know, I remember you said it was like your favorite movie or one of your favorite movies years ago, brought it to Film Fanatics, and you were there for the discussion, I think. And I'm glad I watched it again because I just appreciated it so much more and realized, wow, this is a really good movie.
And that's pretty much the experience I had as I saw. I watched it when I was younger. I watched it when I was a kid. Um, but it was rewatching it that I really got rewatching again, seeing it in theaters. Probably would have been the 10th anniversary or something. Seeing it the way it was meant to, and I'd seen it. That's how we saw it originally, but we had it on a VHS. Um, but seeing it in theaters, seeing it as it was meant to be seen, was a very different experience and really opened my eyes to the quality of this film.
Wow. Wow. Well, I think that's a good note to wrap it up on. I didn't want to say anything, but I think we beat the previous two records for time.
Yeah, I think we're. I don't know how long we've been talking, but
I think we're pushing 3. I think we started before like 10 or so. I think it's easily 2.5 hours.
all right. Well, I mean, that's we had a lot to talk about. So
Yeah, yeah, we did, but it's a good conversation. Yeah, man, thank you for sharing that list. That was really cool. Once again, a lot of good ones, some surprises. It was really cool to hear you talk about them, and got a couple I've never heard of or ones I know I need to see.
yeah, I did. I didn't. I tried to avoid being by Mr. Movie Snob and all of the. Oh, you haven't heard of Dolomite Del Monde, better known as Cemetery Man? Well, you'll know the true
You know,
film fan.
well, I mean, I don't know. Literally, there were a couple on there that I totally missed, and that is one that once again, you'd probably think I would be interested in that one, but to be fair, some of my foreign movies and some of the more obscure stuff I'm not quite as familiar with. But like, believe it or
Yeah,
not, like Giallo films, I didn't even understand that concept until a couple years ago. So
yeah, that's fair.
I mean, so like sometimes you just miss stuff. Like, oh,
Yeah,
that is probably something I would have liked, and I didn't really know it was a thing.
yeah, and that's a lot of my, like half of these I saw in stuff like uh, Joe Bob Briggs and Monsterville. I think
Oh,
that's how I first saw Road Warrior. So it just happens that that's what I saw in Basic Kids. A lot of movies that I happen to see on IFC or HBO or TNT or whatever that entered the cycle. And then I went, oh, okay. In the age before streaming, I'd be like, okay, I'm going to go to the video store and figure
mhm.
out
You
these
know,
other movies.
not to keep you here much longer, but I do say some people obviously, that's just indicative of being in the time you're from. Some people have no idea what we're talking about, and it's one of those things where with the advent of technology and convenience with streaming and everything, it's a little less efficient technically. I mean, it's more effort. It might not be as good, but I miss it and I'd almost prefer it. You get there was something to going to the video store and looking through it and being there and selecting something.
Yeah, I like having the instant access to things. I like not having to go look, but I also miss finding weird old movies or picking something based on the cover or
Mhm.
uh, whatever the suggestions, figuring out which of the video store clerks have
Correct.
good taste and looking at their suggestions or talking to people.
Yeah, well, maybe a little more of a
Um,
gamble, but it was more fun in some ways, I guess.
yeah, I rarely, anytime I picked up like three movies to rent, I was rarely disappointed in all of them. Usually, I found something good in the, amongst those. But
Hmm.
there's always more stuff out there to see.
Absolutely. And well, once again, man, thank you for being here. I think we might have a few more of these to do. I know Justin's probably up there, and I know Brittany wants to, I guess, do one too.
Yep. She's list is done or almost done. So
Okay. Well, yeah, she'll be, if not next, I think she'll be up soon. So if we can get it done within the next week or two, maybe we can try to get people together and I guess do some big Zoom or something. We'll see.
yeah, I'll say that if we can do it before school starts at the end of August would be good. But
Yeah. Oh, definitely. I want to get it done before the summer because yeah, come the end of the year, I'll be really busy
yeah,
with
and
school stuff too.
yeah, you're gonna have your own stuff. So yeah,
Oh yeah, yeah. I'll be doing a little bit of the teaching too, so that's gonna be a
yeah,
big thing. So yeah, no, I get it. So yeah, no, definitely let's try to get. But at the rate we've been doing these, like I said, we might be able to do it. Well, I think we can get it done before summer's over.
yeah. But yeah, we'll do that, and you'll get to hear about what my actual number one movie
I know
is.
you fooled me, man. That was great. All right. Well, yeah. Once again, thank you for being here, and I'll probably see you maybe in another video or two as well. We might get another
Yeah, I think
sci-fi
we'll
in.
be back. We'll maybe do another science fiction lost classic or whatever we're calling those. But
Yeah, I think I just called it Dr. Peter's Classics or Peter's Classic Sci-Fis because I couldn't think
okay,
of a more creative title. But
yeah. But
who knows?
yeah,
That thing.
thanks everyone for sitting through however long since it's been, and it was a lot of fun to discuss this. So have a good
Yeah,
night, everyone.
absolutely. Everybody, thank you for listening and stay magical.